Friends, thinkers, and gamers, Friday has come around again. TGIF, congratulations on a week well completed. I hope that no matter what you found yourself getting up to, you were able to make some achievements or at least some progress in it that you felt proud of and which you felt contributed the value that you were looking to bring about to your life and to the world more broadly. I am your host, Aaron Suduko, the founder of With a Terrible Fate, your first and final source for all literary studies, philosophical treatments, and all-around celebrations of video games as works of storytelling. We have been working to make sense of the language of video game narrative and develop new tools for better understanding and appreciating them for almost a decade. It'll be our 10-year anniversary this November, which is barreling down upon us more quickly than I can blink. Where is the time going? So if you love video games, if you relate to them as works of interactive story and make sense of your life and your communities, or even just appreciate the textual value and artistic content of them, you have found your people. I encourage you to go to withaterriblefate.com to check out how we have been working to contribute to the discourse around video game storytelling through long-form written articles, podcasts, convention lectures, now these live streams, and much, much more, working to analyze and better understand the storytelling of video games and all the philosophy which is concerned with that, which surrounds that. The newest addition to our little content family is also the most active and dynamic. We have a Discord server where you can hop on and experience and contribute to our attempt at the old world ancient Greek agora, reimagined for gamers in modern times. In many ways, Western philosophy, as it's commonly conceived nowadays, finds its roots in the everyday conversations that would happen in the agora. And so we're trying to bring that about in a multi-channel digital universe where thoughtful gamers of all kinds can come together simply to talk with each other about the things that are interesting them right now in the gaming world and try to make better sense of them, whether it's a game that you're playing and want to sort through with other people who may not even be playing the game but might be interested in it, or if you're looking for your next recommendation, a game of a particular type to sit down and play, or if you have a favorite gaming series or simply want to sit down and talk about With the Terrible Fates content or the theoretical considerations of video game storytelling more broadly. We have homes for all that and more, along with a very thoughtful and handsome community of active contributors. And then also me. I show up there every now and then. But the rest of them, very handsome and thoughtful. So encourage you to join. I dare say you will not be disappointed. Tales of Praxis, if it's your first time finding us here, is a long-term project which I first proposed and began working on in March of last year, trying to make sense of a particular long-running series of video games that really shaped me as a person and a thinker and a gamer, and has done so for so many others as well. I'm talking about Bandai Namco's Tales of series of JRPGs, which has been taking us on rich, interactive adventures as a global community across time and space alike since 1995, with no signs of slowing down anytime soon, thank goodness. We're coming up on its 30th anniversary, also before you can blink. I had the good fortune of stumbling upon Tales of Symphonia in a Blockbuster as a kid, and the rest, as they say, is history. It opened my eyes to the potential for video games to tell stories, for stories to convey philosophies and ask their audiences to wrestle with pretty abstract and centrally human notions, such as discrimination. And it opened my eyes to the potential of such art forms to really shape one as a human being. And so nowadays, as a philosopher of game narrative, I decided it was high past time to go back and turn my attention to making sense of the language of this series in particular, one that emotionally guided me through the years as I came to discover and replay many times its different entries, and one which also has so much to say on every register of artistic value, from our investment with the characters to intellectual and philosophical lessons to indeed even mystic practices and beyond. I just got a Discord notification, so I want to make sure everything's okay here before we go forward. Perfect. I was half suspicious there was an issue with OBS, but I guess it's just a quiet night. So I've been working ever since Bamco said that they were remastering and re-releasing that first game of mine, Tales of Symphonia, on the series Tales of Praxis, which endeavors to intertextually analyze the whole Tales series, something which I have never even dared to consider attempting before this because, oh boy, there are a lot of titles, many of which I played growing up, some of which I missed, and many of which all the same, which I hadn't played in a long time, so much so that returning to them, they felt new. But I wanted to play through all of the games we have available in the West in quick succession so that I could put them in conversation with one another and ask the question, even beyond the stories and experiences that these games are giving us on their own terms, how is it that they're contributing to this whole of the series and developing a language, a philosophical perspective, an artistic point of view, which is greater than the sum of its parts and which can inform not just the players, but in fact the overall community which is attached to the series, which loves it so much, which recognizes a distinctive flavor of experience and value in these games, such that even if you've played a lot of JRPGs, I would put it to you that there is something special about the Tales of series, something worth your time, and something which will keep you coming back after you've had your first experience in it. So I've been working to excavate the meaning and language of the series in two forms, one of which is my more traditional long-form written philosophical work. So I encourage you to find all of that on withatterriblefate.com, including the most recent of my publications, Why You Must Play Tales of Hearts R 389 Times. In many ways, this publication epitomized the Tales of Praxis series to me because it was taken from my first journey through a relatively underplayed Tales of game, which I probably never would have gotten around to if not for Tales of Praxis, and in falling in love with this game and also being pulled in by the magnetic force of this game to try to answer the call to understand and appreciate it in progressively deeper and richer ways. I found myself uncovering some pretty rich insights and perspectives on what it is to bond with others, to make sense of oneself through emotional connections, and indeed what it is for us to invest in the characters and communities specifically of the Tales series. I now feel that this game in particular, Tales of Hearts R, has a special standing in the series in terms of justifying and explaining what it is for us to engage with these works. And that besides that, it is particularly illuminating in explaining to us not just why the series matters, but also why the kinds of agency we take on and see these characters take on, coming to bond with one another in myriad ways, is so distinctly valuable and important to shaping oneself as a human over the course of a life and within so many communities, past, present, and future. And then the other half of the series is what you found on this fine Friday evening of ours, these live-streamed book club adventures, working through the Tales of games in real time in the communal setting of Twitch and in the asynchronous setting of YouTube VODs, published to YouTube after the original recording. They've been so rewarding to me because ever since I founded With a Terrible Fate 10 years ago, it was really my hope to find ways to, through analysis, facilitate different and new kinds of enriching conversations and just modes of collaboration around the reading and interpretation of video games. And this being With a Terrible Fate's first foray into the streaming world, I really feel like we're on the verge of achieving something quite different and important in this format, in exactly that sense that I aspired to a decade ago. Also, it's the perfect kind of subject matter for pursuing that mode of engagement with, because if you've sat down and played a Tales of game recently, or even in your distant past, or if you've played a lot of other JRPGs besides, you know that one of the core ways in which they tell their stories and take you on their journeys is through party-based storytelling, where you're not just following along and controlling a single avatar, as might be the case in many other games, but in fact, you're bearing witness to and contributing to the development of a group of diverse characters who come together in pursuit of a single mission or goal or recognition of a particular value they want to promote in the world. And by dint of their diverse and multiple perspectives, actually come to learn more from that journey than they ever would have been able to on their own. And just so, I've been really loving these interactive journeys of ours with the real life JRPG party in the chat, because really having worked through so many single player games across my life and across my philosophical work, I can tell you with a high degree of confidence that working through one in this format has really led me to think about these journeys and the conclusions we draw from them in different, substantively richer ways. So I want to thank you all again for that, and I hope you stick around and follow along, because it's not the same without you, and I think there really are many lessons to be learned simply by the act of doing this together, not just sitting down and playing these games in silos as we so often do, and then talking about them after the fact. Hey, Doug, nice to see you. It has indeed been a while. Thank you. Yep. Appreciate the rec. If you're looking to share more recs or just become part of the community in a different way, you might have dropped in after this, but I think since the time when you were a regular last, we now have a Discord server, which is a really great way of engaging on all topics and domains of video games and the philosophy of their storytelling and everything around that. People are always sharing games and thinking about new ones, so I'll go ahead and drop that link for you again, my friend. Why Tales of Praxis? Well, it's because when I started this series, my hypothesis going into it as to an answer for the question, what makes these games special? What is it that they're trying to express? What is the language particular to their storytelling? Was that I feel, for me at least, what makes these games distinctive and what might make them valuable and useful to everyone, even if this isn't what you immediately recognize in them, is that they all contribute one or several pieces to an overall picture of a philosophy of action, which is expressed through their characters, their worlds, and which crucially is expressed to us, the players, through the journeys that we take within these games, teaching us lessons about how to make sense of ourselves as people situated in worlds with a broader history to which we're contributing, and communities to which we might or might not belong, and to a future in which we can recognize particular and various forms of value and decide based on our understanding of ourselves within the world and this cosmos, what is it that I want to promote and bring about in the world beyond myself, and what does it take to actually act in favor of a value, and how can I even coordinate my actions with others in order to march the overall world as it stands now into something different worth fighting for. These questions, I think, and crucially, the practical philosophies which give us tools and handholds for navigating them in our lives and having more productive forms of agency, are central to the Tales of series, which is what you'll see me arguing again and again in different forms in my written work and in my engagement with the games in these live book clubs of ours. So I hope you take the time to check all of that out. Welcome to the family if you're a newcomer. I don't think I have many other global With a Terrible Fate updates on this Friday evening, except to say you can expect the new podcast episode tomorrow. That's gotten through post-production. I think you're really going to like it. The back of its baseball card is we talk about things like morality and immersiveness and adaptation and esotericism in video games, ranging from particular case studies such as The Last of Us and Silent Hill and Elden Ring, and of course Tales, also many other things beyond, and even dip into some traditional but modern aesthetics from areas of fiction beyond video games, including works by such people as one of my former mentors and advisors in my undergraduate work in philosophy. So it's a very fun episode, especially if you're interested in engaging with meta questions about the state of the discourse in gaming and how we might maybe consider reorienting some of it to make it more productive and spiritually rewarding. It's that kind of episode, and I think you'll have fun with it. So I hope you listen to it. Put it on while you're grinding in a game or thinking about games more broadly, and let it seep in. And then hop on the Discord, and we can talk about it. Also, in terms of our study for the moment, we were talking about this a little bit on Wednesday, and I was trying to give people and myself alike the space to explore what the first few motions of this game felt like, to figure out what the right time block would be for our regular meeting to study it, because as those who have been along for the ride know, this is a game that was released well before the advent of streaming, and so its story isn't blocked into these nice chunks as you oftentimes get in modern games that are, in many cases, actually designed to be streamed in chapters, more or less. I'm thinking after our conversation on Wednesday, it'll make sense to go with 3 hours for now, which is what I had originally planned. We'd gotten away from it a little bit, but we can swing back into that. But as I said at the outset, really flexible, and I want to make sure that what we prioritize is getting nice, digestible, relatively cohesive segments of this experience down together. And so what I'm really going to be doing is I'll aim for erring on the side of 3 hours rather than 4. But if we're right in the middle of something at the 3 hour mark, I'm happy to play things out. I'm going to try to find nice endpoints more or less between the 3 and 4 hour mark. That's how I'm going to be approaching it as we go forward. And then last, but certainly not least, my dear friend and colleague to whom I owe so much and who in many ways inspired With a Terrible Fate and my work, even before my work was With a Terrible Fate. Dan Hughes will be here this coming week, starting on Monday. We have not planned out fun one-off stream content or what our collaboration on Tales of Eternia might look like or anything else, but suffice to say, I'm sure there's going to be a lot for us to do together as a community, and I'll be chatting with him about that over the weekend, I imagine. So stay tuned. Look forward to that. I know I am. There's always a lot of great video game insights and avenues for further research that come up when the two of us get together, and just a lot of fun philosophical and gamey shenanigans more broadly. I think that wraps things up, friends. So we're ready to jump back to Tales of Eternia, and I'm going to apologize again because my voice was fine all day. After Monday, I had been having some scratchiness on Monday, and then it seemed like it was fine, but I've been having a few meetings over the last few days, so maybe I've simply lost my voice to that. And I'm back to running in the morning, so I don't know if that's straining my sinuses or something. So anyway, hopefully with my trademark giant jug of water, we will get over that before we get too far into the stream. But if it doesn't, bear with me. I'll make a raspy character for our Friday night adventure. It's a Friday stream, so anything goes, right? I felt like there was something else I was going to point out. Oh, also just again to the YouTube audience, as we're easing back into getting everything onto YouTube, and I'm trying to catch up with some of my never-ending backlog in life, but specifically with regard to With a Terrible Fate, I'm also trying to get into a more regular cadence of uploading the Eternia VODs, because I know some people have actually found With a Terrible Fate and Tales of Praxis for the first time through this most recent journey of ours, which I love, and I'm sorry I'm still a little wishy-washy on it, but this batch of VODs from this week, which is not yet up, will be up over the weekend, so hold me to that. We're going to try to keep you in the dark for as short an interval as possible going forward. Yeah, bye, Doug. It was nice to see you again. I hope you're thinking well and gaming well and doing well more broadly. It's always nice to see an old regular back in the fold, and always feel free to drop in whenever you have the time and interest. There's plenty of reason to be interested in what we're up to now, as I have been hyping up to no end because it's worth it. We are going through a long-anticipated study of Tales of Eternia, the third title ever in the Tales of series, and one which at once gave birth to many of the tropes and points of view and messages which would be worked and reworked in later titles, and yet is equally singular in what it is that it wants to say and the world which it forges and asks us to experience with uniquely memorable and valuable characters. So we've been working through a lot of that so far, wrestling with themes like the nature of experience, what it takes to understand another person, how language mediates that understanding, what it takes to interpret language, what it takes to come to an understanding of one's world and one's place in it, and if that's something we can do through sanitized theory, or if maybe there are particular kinds of understanding that require a first personal experience, not sitting within the hallowed halls of academia and reading books, but actually stepping out into the world and seeing what it has to say with our own senses. And we saw the tension between those two points of view come to a head in a pretty dramatic way on Wednesday, because boy oh boy, we finally found the capital of the Inferian Empire, and in the capital we found despot is probably the wrong word. We haven't seen the king be despotic quite yet, but certainly at minimum a powerful authoritarian monarch whose word quite literally is law, and determines the truth for those who fall within the king's purview and are his subjects. And so we saw Keel wrestling with that as he tried to convince everyone within the court, including the royal scientist Zosimos, of the truth of Keel's thesis and his belief that the worlds were at risk of actually colliding with one another. And we saw the terrible turn from no one believing him when it was just theory to Zosimos actually collecting data, that first personal experience, validating Keel's concerns, only for that to turn around with the king claiming, with seemingly no basis for it, that this was all the work of the Celestians, and therefore Inferia had to gear up to go to war with them. Even at the same time that, as we've seen, Inferians seem to just know as a fact of life that Celestians are these barbarous people hell-bent on destroying Inferia, despite Celestians not having been around for thousands of years and no one really knowing, or at least saying, what the exact atrocities were that they committed in the first place. So we saw Keel, after having a private conversation with Rowan, the head of the King's Guard in Inferia City, actually deciding to stay behind to work on things there, presumably because he's realized that as far as his academic career is concerned, he needs to respect the king just as much as Zosimos does. On the other hand, as much as Reed might still desperately want to go home and say, well, we told the Empire and that's all we can do about the risk of the Grand Fall, he is called forth on adventure by the twin pillars of Meredy, who still needs to find the Greater CRAYMELS and maybe more pressingly and personally find her way home thereafter, and she has no real sense of how to do that. Except this fabled Bridge of Life, which we've now heard about, which may actually allow passage between Celestia and Inferia. And Farah, who insists still on doing what she can to help Meredy, help the world, and insists that Reed is going to be involved with that. Because, well, maybe because Reed owes it to her, maybe because she just knows Reed is the kind of person who is better off when he does heroic things like that. It's an interesting question. We still have a lot to uncover in terms of their relationship and how it is that they motivate each other, even as we've already seen them go on quite a few legs of this journey. Hey, Pizzicato, it is so nice to see you back, my friend. Man, we're getting some deep cuts from the community at the kickoff of this Friday stream. Don Sudoku, I'll take that. I don't know if I deserve it, but I'll take it. Yes, this game is absolutely beautiful. That's something that we've been spending a lot of warranted time dwelling on in the study so far. The artistic renderings are incredible. What they do with a relatively pared down soundtrack is, I think, in many ways groundbreaking. The way that towns are represented, everything is just really lends itself to a memorable and powerful aesthetic that I think only games in this era can do in exactly this way when they had such limited resources. But all the better when an artistic vision came together that used every single one of those limited resources to the utmost in service of a coherent experience. Is it any wonder then why I love memorable games of this era, and this game in particular, given my outlook on games and what it is to read them. So we ventured onward. We also learned while we were in the kingdom, speaking of interesting tensions, of this love triangle between Princess... I had her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me. But the Princess of the Empire and Rowan, the head of the guard, who has this unrequited love for her. I don't think Captain, Sir Luwine, the head knight, who is off on a mysterious expedition. No one really knows why. But we learned quite a bit about these three, despite never really getting the full story. Luwine, we learned, was common-born. His mother was a commoner, and there was some drama around her suicide, which was preceded by some kind of conflict between her and the queen. And now he's off on his own expedition to experience the world for reasons unknown, whereas Rowan has better breeding, and yet only stays around the castle, bound to protect it with these guards who we also learned have never actually seen combat training. And so the Princess Orende, there, I knew I would get there. Princess Orende only has eyes for Luwine, this common-born hero who would go off on his own journeys and actually experience things firsthand, whereas the insistent suitor, Rowan, remains unrequited and also remains fully separated from the overall context of the world over which the Empire presides. So again, that distinction between trying to understand and grasp things theoretically at a distance versus firsthand sensory and otherwise direct experience and apprehension of things playing out even in that love triangle. Now we are off in an effort to try to find the other primary greater Craymels, as we learned they're called, of Inferia. It seems like we have greater Craymels of wind and fire and light remaining, at least based on what Keel could make sense of after the party's meeting with Undine. And so we have taken a ferry to another continent. We found a town rife with merchants trying to get the better of us. And we found a already quite memorable character whom you will come to know better and remember for myriad reasons, Ras, who is himself a merchant, who helped the party out of a jam in town, and who said, yeah, I know about this cave of the wind spirit, or maybe the wind cave, I forget what it's called exactly, but he's agreed to guide them there. He initially asked for an exorbitant amount of gold to do that, I think maybe 50,000 gold, but after getting to know the party a little bit, and I think frankly just being curious in them and wanting to better understand them, he said he would do it for free. So, now we will continue our journey going forth to the Wind Cave. I'll also remind folks, if you haven't joined the Discord, and it's not enough reason to join, just to have this modern gamers agora for talking about games and their philosophical content and making sense of the meaning of their storytelling in rich, multi-dimensional ways that you might not ever arrive at otherwise. I am also adding supplementary commentary, some preparatory remarks, further research and background reading, as I am working through Tales of Eternia to the Tales of Praxis channel on our Discord. So if you want yet another dimension to this particular study, including the ways in which I'm connecting it to the other written work that I've done for Tales of Praxis, I encourage you to go ahead and join, hop on the channel. We have really rewarding conversations that truly just add another aspect to this overall study that we're undertaking in Tales of Praxis. I think that's all I had to go on. I feel like there was one other point, but I will let that go. Let's dig back in, my friends. Happy Friday night to you. Welcome back to Tales of Praxis. Let's get going to the Wind Cavern. Raz will tell us. What's the name of this place?
Sylph Cavern is to the west.
Sylph Cavern.
But are you really going there?
I wonder what the name of the Greater Craymel of Wind might be. Are we really going there? Yes, it is fabled to be a pretty dangerous place. But of course, that's not going to stop us.
Let's do it. Go. Swallow dance.
As we get further into this, you'll see many of the what are sometimes referred to now as the norms of storytelling and game design in the early games in the Tales of series, because many of them have just standards that don't appear in the later games, and some of the fun ones are really in terms of how the world is represented in the overworld and what it takes to navigate that. So you'll see I made a point of walking through, for instance, that little circle in the forest, because sometimes you can find little areas there that don't present on the map, but once you go there, you can discover them merely by walking over them. There are a lot of hidden depths to overworlds such as this one, which is part, I think, of how this game asks us to treat it esoterically and mystically, excavating not just different levels to the story, but also sometimes quite literally, but also oftentimes figuratively, different levels and layers of the world itself by exploring it through different means and with different forms of attention. I remember the last thing I was going to mention. So if you're also new to Tales of Praxis, one of the fun things to me about this study is that, like I said, there are these two parts to Tales of Praxis, my written publications and these live book clubs that we're doing together. And this one, I think, really is a unification of the two, because some of the themes that are coming up in my other research projects and just current work on the philosophy of games have had me really interested in playing Tales of Eternia in particular, because I think many of the things I want to think about in terms of like games as these tools and media for mystic practice, I think emerge and are represented in quite special and instructive ways in Tales of Eternia. So actually part of what I'm using this live book club of ours for is to revisit the game. This is my second time playing it. I played it for the first time as part of Tales of Praxis off stream at the end of last year. And I decided, since that was only my first time and there's so much to understand here, I want to replay it before I write about it. I want to firm up my ideas, and I want to do that in the context of the real life JRPG party. Because, as I said, you just arrive at a different, more substantive kind of insight so often working through these games and the philosophical treatment of them communally rather than on your own. So I have many things that I already want to attend to, and so you'll see me pointing things out or directing your attention here and there as the study proceeds. But also, if you see me asking a lot of questions or inviting us to just speculate and explore about particular things, it's because I have inclinations about what is worth studying, and I have certain preliminary theses and hypotheses, but I really don't have settled views yet. I'm working through this to develop them with you. So hopefully that's a fun aspect of it too. Hey, Que, it's been a minute since we've seen you on the stream. Welcome. Nice to see you. I hope you're having a great Friday, my friend. New area, new enemies. Mad Eel. It's rather interesting because this is Sylph's cave. It's presumably a home to wind craymels, and yet these really seem like aqueous foes. Almost as if maybe we're attracting some kind of animus by virtue of the pact that we made with Undine. You would think that having Undine on our side, or at least in our Craymel cage, would give us more of an affinity for water, but we seem to have done something to invoke the wrath of it instead. Yeah, well, I'm a Luddite when it comes to Twitch too, as I think you know, so yeah, God knows I can't figure out things like alerts either, so no worries there. Yeah, things are good. I'm getting excited for my move to Los Angeles for my PhD program, so that's, if I seem a little worn out, that's because figuring out apartment hunting has been my theme of this week when I haven't been doing more intellectually rewarding work. But Tales of Praxis marches on, and always too many irons in the fire, so excited to have you here, excited to be working on this study, and I mentioned before it's going to be a new podcast episode tomorrow. If you're in the mood for some audio content, thinking about what we do when we talk about games and how to do that better, it's kind of the headline of that episode. And too many projects in the background, but we'll hopefully be publishing and distributing some more of those soon. Hey, those are Inferia guards. You can tell because if you haven't noticed this already, I almost called this out last stream, but I didn't want to distract from the more substantive content. All of the guards in Inferia look exactly the same. I think the only one who looks different is Rowan, their leader. Let me speak to them. Wait here for a moment. I wonder if Raz can convince them to let us through. I don't know. Inferia guards can be as stubborn as mules. Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's enter, shall we? How did you manage to reason with them? You're such a salesman. You must be a great talker. Is that supposed to be a compliment? You bet. Raz is really something. Let's go, Reed. Don't you find this strange? It shouldn't be this easy to enter land annexed by the king. It's his aura. The guards probably trust his aura. Aura? Come on, Reed, hurry. First things first. Let's go find the wind craymel. So that's interesting because to the best of my knowledge, for all the time we spent in Inferia City, we didn't get the information that this land and region where we're in now was actually annexed by the king. So there are guards installed here, but it's been annexed from the main empire, I guess. Be interesting to think about that in terms of the overall like political and social state of Inferia and the empire specifically, especially with reference to how it might relate to the very rigid class systems that we saw at play in Inferia City. Be careful of the gusts of wind. This place is known as Sylph Cavern. I'll also point out that idea, people trust his aura, which Farah suggested. It's worth keeping that in mind as we go forward. Oh, we can't go that way at all. I'm dizzy. Oh, that's fun, though. We get a unique response from Farah because she's our leader. We hadn't been getting a lot of unique responses in that sense yet in the game, so it's nice to know they're in there. I think if you think about how we've come to know and relate to different people in the game so far, and we even talk about characters like this quite often, but Eternia is no exception. I think they do have particular auras, you know, like Keel is kind of a standoffish academic, and you could tell even before he really admitted it in so many words that he was only interested in Meredy because he thought that she could validate his research program. Farah obviously has this overflowing aura of just kindness and generosity and selflessness, in contrast to Reed's maybe not selfishness, but at least impetus to stagnation. I mean, he said at the beginning of the game, things are best if they just never change, right? So the idea of making sense of and relating to people according to their aura, something which is by definition more intuitive and pre-linguistic. It's something that you sense rather than expressing to anyone in words, right? Which is important given what we've been thinking about with regard to language in the game so far. Oh yeah, so we need to wait for the timing on this, that's right. There. Yeah, so keep that term and that concept aura in mind as we go forward. It's interesting to me that it shows up this early because we'll see that's not the last time we'll be hearing about it. And yeah, one of the things that they were of course talking about with respect to Raz and his silver tongue is that, as we learned last time, he's a merchant, which we've talked about this off and on over the course of the Tales of series, but very cool how they can bring in a rich diversity of people to the party. The game prior to this, Tales of Destiny, had a bard as a character, the aptly named Carol, who also had a royal lineage, but in terms of what he did in battle and what his overall praxis was, he played songs. That was his entire function and utility, ranging all the way from that to proper dog party members. And a lot of middle ground, right? So pretty rare, I think, that you get a merchant party member. But here we are with Raz.
Swallow dance. Ha, toe.
Heel swore. Ha.
Toe. Ah.
A powerful merchant at that.
Rise. Ah. Toe. Rising dragon strike.
That was easy.
I'm gonna actively feel things out over the next few battles. I'm a little suspicious that we might be reaching the threshold where it will be advisable for me to turn back to Reed as my main man in battle. Just because I think healing is beginning to matter again. And I'm just not at home in the same way when I have to manage healing the party at the same time that I'm controlling someone who does a lot of melee work. Farah's great. I love her as a character, as I've said. I'm interested in studying her this time around because I have at least a sneaking suspicion that she might be my favorite character in the series, and so we're going to continue exploring the why and how of that as we go forward. But I might switch gears soon to exploring and appreciating her from afar.
Let's do it. Toe. Eagle dive. Ha. Toe. Ha. Swallow dance. Toe. Ha.
Sonic blade.
Toe.
Heel swore. Ha. Super lightning blade.
Eagle dive. Ha.
Super lightning blade.
Toe. We took care of them.
Just gonna message the Discord real quick, don't mind me. Figured I would message the channel because I had a moment yesterday when I thought I might need to move the day of the stream just because a confusion in my schedule came up through no fault of my own at the last minute. So I took the temperature of the channel on Discord just to see if people would be flexible and want to do something this weekend instead. But then I decided at the end of deliberating that it would be easier just to keep things on the regular schedule. So I said that, but I'm noticing, you know, obviously people have their own lives and that's great, and no one should ever feel beholden to come to the entirety of like the study of a playthrough. Although if you want to, you should, because it's worth it and it's rewarding. But also I know that that's a big commitment with a JRPG. But we have had a decent handful of regulars showing up quite consistently to all these streams. So it's just surprising. It's surprising enough to me that it's this quiet of a night that I worry whether, speaking of communication, something got lost in translation with what I was saying to them on the Discord. I hope that's not the case. Yes, and so now we wait for the wind to die down because we're going down a different path. So this is perhaps an obvious point to point out, observation to point out, excuse me, point to point out. That's an awful thing to say. But it bears mentioning. I think it's really cool to see what dungeons and games do with different dimensions of navigation, because some dungeons can be horizontal, some can confuse you with illusions, some can play with verticality in very cool ways. And I think this one is a little bit of everything, but it especially plays with just, I think, verticality, and also just kind of like an unpredictable labyrinth, like you just saw. It's so windy.
Let's do it.
It's hard to know where the wind is going to take you, and I think the dungeon itself as a means of like reaching Sylph and coming to master wind is a great representation of what that experience would be like, because you go through it and it really feels like you don't yet understand wind. What I mean by that is, I'll try to point this out as we go forward, but to my recollection, there are some areas where you actually want to go with the wind, and then there are other areas where the wind will, like you just saw, divert you back to the start. And so it's not always obvious whether the wind is something that's going to help you or hurt you. So you end up making a lot of missteps and going around in circles, and it feels like a labyrinth, but it feels like a labyrinth where you lose your way exactly because you don't understand how the party's navigation is relating to wind. So you have to overcome that and come to actually understand the wind to a certain degree before you can actually, as a matter of mechanics, meet Sylph and acquire the support of the Greater Craymel of Wind, which I love. That's just a great way of using the structure and challenges of a dungeon to augment and add another level to your storytelling and themes. Too eager. There we go. Okay, but I think I did go down the right way. I just fell victim to wind that I didn't want to fall victim to, because I don't see any other paths out of here right now. So that has to be the way. They keep taking my shortcuts off when I reboot for some reason. I do not know why this is. I want spread.
Super lightning blade.
Rising dragon strike. Eagle dive. Swallow dance.
Is there anything? No, there's nothing else over here. So this is the right way. We already have one instance of cooking mastery. I think Farah is as good as it gets with making sandwiches. So now, ideally, I think what we want to do is spread the love and get other people to master the recipes. So what happened here? Oh, yes, I remember. You can't cross here. The wind's too strong. So what are we supposed to do? Stand back. Now, if we hold on to the rope as we cross, we'll be fine. Pretty handy item you've got there. And that's a cool challenge of navigation, too, because you don't prompt that conversation until you press X, basically, to investigate. So if you just try to find your way, like, oh, maybe there's a right way for me to wander or a right point at which to cross, you're just going to keep getting hit by the wind. You need to think laterally and, as is often the case with Tales, solve the problem with a conversation rather than just moving the party members in a different way.
Eagle
So many bears in this game.
Demon lightning hammer.
Don't forget the egg bears at Nostos Cave. I told you to remember them. Ah, man. It's one of those instances of game navigation where it's pretty hard to figure out how to latch onto the rope. So I clearly did it wrong that time. Hey, Grail. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, not the easiest interface on a phone, isn't it? I do that sometimes. On the rare occasions I'm watching a stream. But yeah, it's a lot of interface in a little package. Man, Sylph is ruining my life. Come on! Thank you. Oh, Mamma Mia.
Let's do it. Go. Rising dragon swallow dance. Eagle dive.
It's so funny the way they script the failure for that too. It's like they interrupt your game workflow by not just letting you know that you failed, but acting as if, like, clearly you don't understand how wind works, so we're going to remind you. Oh, because you can't manage the tallies on your phone. That's okay. Yeah, I was really sorry to hear about your computer, man. I feel like usually when they start to die, they have a few fits and bursts of just like a couple weeks, and then they usually go all the way in my experience, tragically. I hope it's not too much of a pain to get it fixed. Alright, let's try this again. How do we attach to the rope? There we go. Gotta press X at just the right place. Looks like we made it to another instance of being trolled by wind. There we go. That wasn't as hard. It was so funny because I got through that first one so easily the first few times, and then they must have known that Grail and Pottery showed up and they wanted to make me fail in front of them. You just have to bow in gratitude to the enforced grind, because every time you fail, it's just the opportunity to fight more monsters and get beefier. Mentioning before you got here, though, 2 for 2 with really cool dungeons that give you a pretty rich perspective on the Greater Craymels before anything like a fight happens. Because, speaking of Greater Craymels, that's what I was going to check. Do we have more water shards? No, we don't. Because in Undine's stream, like we talked about, there's all of that natural water, and we really get to experience the Greater Craymels as these individual beings and drops of water, and even commune with Undine that way before she coalesces into the form against which we fight. And in this dungeon, I think one of the really cool things about the very frustrating dynamics of its puzzle is that it's so hard to navigate because you literally don't know as a player how to use the wind. Because there are some cases in the dungeon where the wind will help you, it'll guide you to a new area. There are other areas where it'll just push you back to start, and it can be really hard to figure out the right way to use it. And then even once you know whether to avoid it or have it help you, actually executing the mechanics can be a challenge. So it really is, to me, a beautiful case of a dungeon that calls you through its challenges to come to understand wind before the party is able to confront Sylph and come to understand wind. It's a beautiful marriage of form and function. That's right. Like and subscribe to Undine. Hey, Donut Secret. Nice to see you made it over to Twitch, my friend. We're going to keep going with the YouTube VODs too, so if you're more comfortable there, definitely don't feel compelled to stay here. But this is the better place because here we get to chat and you get to be part of the real-life JRPG party. Yeah, lots of memorable dungeons in Tales of Eternia, among many other memorable things, but I'll put it this way. We're, I think, 3, 4, 5 in having really interesting conversations about the structures of dungeons and what they contribute to the storytelling. And one of the ones we didn't talk about at the time is sure as hell going to come back in a big way. And the other one was just the backwoods to get Meredy, and I'll bet we could talk about that too. And I think that's definitely setting us up to understand the stakes of what these dungeons are typically like. I don't think that's going to change as we go forward. I think there's so much to be said about every single dungeon in this game from front to back. Being exposed to wind for a long time can take a lot out of you. What do you think? Maybe it's time to get some rest. Huh? I'm still feeling great. When you push too hard, you wind up having accidents. Let's get some rest. You bet.
Reed, your swordplay is impressive. You have a unique style. Where did you learn it?
Self-taught. I'm a hunter.
Hey! Ras, what are you wearing? It's pretty.
Ah, this is a compass key.
A compass key.
Compass key?
That's a new term.
Yes, a compass key. It's a key with mysterious power that leads you to the right path.
Remember when I told you the idea of following paths and playing roles was going to come back? Pay attention. And mysterious power in a mystic game. And the notion of a right path.
Those. So that's what they look like.
Ras, so where does your path lead you?
Get out of here, Grail. Reed can use 3 different types of weapon. His attacks already span things that Ras can't do. Which is probably part of what makes Reed more interesting to Ras. There is overlap, but Reed has just a range and depth that Ras doesn't.
Earning money, of course. After all, I'm a merchant. If I may ask, why do you all want to meet the Greater CRAYMELS?
Huh? Is that strange? To want to meet them?
It doesn't seem to be mere curiosity. I feel that there's a sense of purpose.
Purpose kind of like one's compass key.
Ras knows much. With Greater CRAYMELS, we will...
Well, wait a minute, Meredy.
Why not? Let me explain to Ras. I'm sure he will be able to help us. Right?
You wish to form a pact with the Greater CRAYMELS to save the world from the Grand Fall?
Please believe us. I know this goes against all reasoning, but...
You seem joyful somehow.
I may have been waiting for a day like this to come for a long time. It makes me happy to think that I just might save the lives of people around the world. And...
Yes?
It makes me feel at ease.
Oh?
Knowing that my efforts help to bring happiness to others makes me feel comfortable. I've always felt this way.
I see. Those are deep wounds.
Yeah, so notice, we just learned a lot about Farah in very few lines. That this boundless kindness she expresses to others, it may be selfless, but there's also a sense in which it grounds her and makes her feel safe. And also, she's been waiting for a day when she could be of use to others and help the world for a long time. What kind of person would be waiting and hoping for that for a long time? Probably someone who feels the need to rectify something or heal in some way. And Raz doesn't miss a beat picking up on that and recognizing that she must have deep wounds.
What is it that has made you so downhearted? From what do you run?
Run? Me? How rude. Nothing would make me run.
She said very believably after opening up.
Really?
Well, dried up slug carcasses aren't exactly my favorite, but that's about it.
I understand. I will broach the subject no more.
But it's the truth.
I'm sorry, my dear. Thank you for the interesting chat. Let us sleep. We have an early morning.
Yeah, that's a good point, Donut. I hadn't thought about that, but of course we get in scenes as a standard, really from Tales of Fantasia onward. But for those who came to know the series through Tales of Arise, of course, camping comes back in a big way in Arise. And to my knowledge, I can't think of at least any other game that made it to the West that used specifically the rest and conversation mechanic at proper campsites, except Eternia. So there you go. Something else from far later in the series finding its roots here in 2000.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah, and we talked before about paying attention to which scenes are voiced and which are not, because I think that really will pay dividends. One thing that is worth pointing out, which you might have noticed already, camping scenes are virtually always voiced, even in cases when almost all of the surrounding dialogue in the area is not. And I think that goes some distance stylistically towards indicating that there is this kind of magic context created by the campfire where characters feel safe and able to not just communicate with each other, but actually open up to each other. So remember, we had been thinking about these different levels of communication with Meredy. You know, what is it to actually share a language? What is it to actually understand someone? And I think what something like the conversation between Farah and Ras just showed is that there's a difference between being able to speak the same language and actually being able to open up to someone and share inner truths with them in that language. The first doesn't entail the second. And so to be able to have a context or even a group of people who are able to achieve both, I think is really special, and the kind of deeper understanding that this game is going to probe us in analyzing and trying to appreciate in new ways. Oh, that's true. We do have, camping scenes after Seals in Silverant. And an Abyss after the Tartarus. You're right, Grail. You're right. I think those feel different to me because they're more of just camping in the aftermath of things. And as you say, it feels more like they simply happen to be at camps. Whereas when I think of like a campfire and camping scene in the sense of something like Eternia or Arise, it feels different to me because it's like the characters are intentionally breaking up an ongoing journey to create this space for touching base with each other and sharing these truths. Something like a more ritualistic expression of the same thing that we get much more serendipitously in skit conversations, right? Yeah, and I don't think those scenes in Symphonia and Abyss are quite the same structurally. I think we missed some treasure back here. So, of course, like a good Tales player, I'm going to go back before I go forwards.
Eagle dive! Swallow dance! Ha! 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 Ho! Ah! Palm strike! Ho! Ha! Wait! Run!
Yeah, they're tankier than you would hope from skeletons. Not unlike those in Shadow of the Erdtree. I wanted to see where Farah was. Okay, so she's even on punching and kicking, so we can work on whatever we want to. Cool. Cool. I think this has a melange gel, right? Yeah, so who could use some healing? Guess it wouldn't be a waste on Farah. That is kind of surprising to me, Grail. I won't say that much about it, nor should you, because we have not seen that much of Ras yet, but I do get the sense that there is more than one sense in which that would be a really good fit. No pun intended. Oh, that's weird. That really looks like a hole that you can go down, but I guess that's just a trick of the screen. Okay, so I guess we didn't miss as much as I thought we did. Just that melange gel, which I did see but didn't deal with before. Cool, we can go for it.
Super lightning blade.
Phew, they were tough.
Definitely at least a passing similarity, physically. And two fencers, no doubt. Okay. Why not? It's free. I don't remember this. I imagine a point came in my first playthrough when I tested this without meaning to, but I can never remember whether you need to actually go up and interact with the load points in order to activate them. So if you see me making a point of actually going up and interacting, that's why. Alright, onward. It's not over yet, that was just a rest.
Let's do it. Go! Rising Dragon
The
Strike!
Bone Knights! The bones are their money! So are the worms!
Eagle dive! Go! Swallow dance!
It's been a minute since my last I think you should leave watch. Should do that again.
Eagle dive!
Dragon Flash, that was a cool art. I don't think we'd seen that yet. And I think that's something that's unique to Ras. I don't think that Reed can learn that. So it's not that Ras is a subset of Reed, but there definitely is a lot of overlap between them. Yeah, you got it in one, buddy. That's the whole game. It's the same reason that they're also both Lloyd Irving and there are no relevant differences between them, right?
Let's do it. Ha! Swallow dance! Go! Ha! Ah!
Super lightning blade.
Ah! Go! Eagle dive! Palm strike! Ha!
Super lightning
Go!
blade.
Go! Go! Palm strike! Eagle dive! Ha! Ow! Swallow dance!
I was having an easier time chaining Farah's attacks before, and now they don't seem to be wanting to play well together for whatever reason. Not sure why. Tagar or not Tagar? That is the only question in the Tales of universe. He said very sarcastically. Yeah, you should have been here for the Tales of Grace's F study. It was really rewarding. And it was my first time playing the F arc. I didn't do that when I played it years and years ago. Those VODs are all already on YouTube, so if you ever find yourself interested, go and check those out. I think you'd have fun with them. And I think it is germane because I was speaking actually with our dear friend and analyst Aaron Waldrum earlier today, and I was saying, I don't know if I'll want to end up writing something standalone on Eternia, because I've also been thinking for a while of writing something, putting it in conversation with Tales of Graces. Because there's at least one interesting thing that I would want to explore comparatively within them. I remember when you did that, Grail. It's very cool. And I know enough about Tales merch to know that there are some characters, and my guess is Richard would be one of them, where you really have to go out of your way to find any kind of merch of them. That's how it was with me and Chester. Oh, you did watch them. Look at you. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm glad that you did that. Yeah, I hope they were fun vicariously. I definitely had a lot of fun doing them, as I always do. And you know, the dumbest thing about that is if I had waited 1 second, I would have remembered that. So I can't tell you the number of times that got me. More than once, I think. Well, now it's definitely more than once. Yeah, that makes more sense. I think we just have to be blown back now, unfortunately. Yep. All the way back. Round and round we go, folks. But every time we do, we get a little bit of a better understanding of how wind works, until we can finally make our way to Sylph. There's no wrong answer. Don't bully the newest member of the real-life JRPG party. Give Donut at least a few times here in the Twitchverse before you start in on the bullying. No, it's almost the opposite. It's like the wind is waking us. It's opening our eyes to at least 1/3 of the nature of the world. But I have been jonesing ever since Tears of the Kingdom came out to go back to Wind Waker, so I imagine that's on the horizon for me at some point. I have not played that game in so long, let me tell you. In fact, I think I got the Wii U version back in the day, but never bothered to actually play it. So that's probably what I'll do whenever I get around to it. It's a good one. It's a good choice. Any Mabo Curry moment is a worthwhile one. Ah, we're gonna make Aaron hungry again. Every Tales of game, so good at that.
Sonic Blade.
It looks like we won.
Okay. Come on. Show me the money. Ah! You're ruining my life, Ron Howard. Any Arrested Development fans? I can't remember. I guess we can camp again. It is pretty ambiguous, speaking of time in this game, whether every time you camp you rest for the night Because if that's the case, I mean, my goodness, with the amount of back and forth in this dungeon, the party could easily be working through the caves for a week. But I guess, you know, complicated cavernous system, navigating wind flows. It's not totally unreasonable to suppose they might need a week to work things through. Spoken like a true internet gamer, Grail. As always. Grail speaks fluent internet gamer. Much to our chagrin. And much to his also, I think. Oh my god. Oh my god! Farah, stop eating all of the attacks. Thank you.
Swallow dance, eagle dive.
I'm so bad at picking favorite moments. I will say the one off the top of my head
We took care of them.
that I was really struck by in the playthrough, because as I said, I had never played the F arc before somehow. I was so taken, and this is spoilers for Tales of Grace's F, but that's okay in the Tales of Praxis context because we've played it together already. The moment at the end, because I'm such a sucker for final cinematic scenes and moments where it goes from changing the perspective of this other planet, Fodra, and asking it to believe in the potential of people, to just the turn of the camera to see the one little queen who had been left behind and how frail and scared she is, pivoting into Sophie's embrace of her, and the evolution of Sophie into something that harmonizes them both. That was just so beautiful, and a great crystallization of a lot of what I love about the Tales of series, and a lot of what I loved about the themes and story of Tales of Graces in particular. Yeah, there's so many though. I mean, you could make the case for virtually any moment in Graces, I think. Well, sometimes you gotta channel the basement dweller. We've all been there. So I properly went the wrong way that time, because there was one path which was just a joke dead end, which I also should have remembered, but that's okay. There might have been an item there. We needed to fish it out. Flush it out, rather. And look at all this sweet, sweet experience we're gaining. I think I saw we got a rapier. Not for Raz. For Reed, presumably? That's fun. You can have him using a rapier at the same time that Raz is. But I'm gonna... Oh, that's... No, that's a trade you want to make. It makes Slash a little bit worse, but it makes Thrust way better. That's where I draw the line. Just pick one, Grail. Pick any one. It doesn't have to be your favorite, period.
Let's do it. Go! Rising dragon! Go! Swallow dance! Eagle dive!
She's great.
Rising dragon!
Funny, because despite feeling she might be my favorite character in the series, I don't think I played as her at all in my first run, so this is long overdue. But we've been having a lot of fun with it in this study so far. Okay, here we go. I think another thing to keep in mind about the nature of dungeon crawling in this one, as a little bit of game history, I mentioned this before at the start of this study, but now that you've seen some of it, you can probably understand it a little bit better. So the dungeons, like we've seen, are oftentimes labyrinthine. It's really hard to find your way around, and they will oftentimes set you back and demand that you put a lot of effort into learning and understanding the dungeon before you get to the end. All of which, by the way, perfectly sets up a lot of the mystic and esoteric practices that I'm going to continue thinking and working through about with reference to the game. But I think also the reason that it's really in a position to get away with that is that coming off of Tales of Fantasia and Tales of Destiny, the combat is much faster. It feels much more like an arcade-style game where you can just flow through battles. There's barely a pause when spells happen. There's barely a pause at the end of battles. And so I think there really is a nice pacing where it doesn't feel that punishing, at least to me, to have to look forward to a bunch more fights if I'm set back to the beginning of the dungeon. And the amazing battle music doesn't hurt either. Jude definitely a part of the Orstedian lineage. And not even just in combat style. I think he has some of that just indefatigable faith in the human spirit too. That is probably not common to all hand-to-hand fighters in the series. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to categorize Regal, because I would say he follows in her combat style, but he's certainly not a hand-to-hand fighter. And he also, as I have written about, I think is defined much more centrally by his guilt than by boundless kindness and faith in others. Farah walked so that Kohaku could fly. Well, yeah, that goes back to the boundless kindness and faith in others. As you can read more about in my study of Tales of Hearts, I'm going to share it until everyone who's played Tales of Hearts R has read it, and everyone who has not played Tales of Hearts R has read it and taken it as motivation for sitting down and playing Tales of Hearts R. And then talk to us about it in the Discord. Go read it. It's worth it. That's a great choice of moment, Grail. I think that probably holds up as one of my favorite side stories and just one-off quests from Tales of Graces, of which there are so many. Yeah, that was a really special one. It gives such development and closure to their stories and relationship. Sets up a lot of where the F arc will go, and also just sits with the reality of what happened before in a really powerful way, all without doing too much or overextending itself. Foot to face fighter, yeah, that'll do.
Eagle dive! Okay!
Wow, you replaced Lloyd as soon as Regal stepped in, Donut. That is a powerful statement. I love him, but one of the things that I wrote about, I'll share this too, just in case the links are easy. But one of the first things that I wrote for Tales of Praxis was a study of Regal, because I found myself kind of unintentionally paying much more attention to him as an adult than I did as a kid. And I think there are a lot of reasons why that makes sense. But he strikes me as a character who's broadly underappreciated, and I've heard other people talk about him that way too, so I love that was never the case for you. Okay, this time I feel good about it. I think we might be able to make it to the end. There's only one way to find out. Okay, it's this way. Blink and you'll miss it. Oh! Ah! Gotta be pixel perfect. Damn.
Let's do it! Go! Swallow dance! Ah!
I think I almost always played as Lloyd when I was a kid. I would do a lot of party variations around him over my million playthroughs of the game, but I think I always felt at home in his sword style.
Rising dragon strike!
And also just because he was the primary protagonist. It took me a long time to want to explore characters in the party beyond the one through whom the majority of the game was focalized. But it's never too late to open your eyes to something different, and now, when you read that Tales of Hearts R analysis, as I know you will, you'll see I now take there to be a lot of merit and unique value in seeing the game's stories through the eyes of each particular character and then synthesizing those perspectives. Easier said than done, but I think it's worthwhile. Okay, I think we're still on the right path. This is going to come out to the area with the trapdoor bridge.
Swallow dance!
Lightning blade.
Rising dragon strike! Spray! Okay. Spread!
It's a really fast spell too, spread.
We did it!
Not just in terms of the animation, but like the casting time, I mean. She can really pull that out of her hat at the last second. Okay, come on. We got this. Was it even worth it? Assault dagger, that might be worth it. No. Show me read stats. It's a little more balanced. Oh, that's hard. Seems to be slashing a lot on AI autopilot, so the balance might be worth it.
Let's do it! Ha! Eagle dive! Ha! Go! Rising dragon strike! Go! Go! Wait! Ha! Ha! Go! 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 Ha! Ha! Go! Go! Ha! Ha! Go! Ha! Ha! Spread! Ha! Ha! Lucky! We did it!
Ras leveled up. Yeah, so notice we've been talking a lot about the difference between making sense of something theoretically absent firsthand experience and then arriving at a perspective on something through firsthand experience. I think what Ras has just presented to the party at the campsite adds another dimension to that that's worth also keeping in mind as we go forward, which is the difference between a perspective which is motivated by something internal to us versus something motivated by a factor that's outside of us in the environment. So for instance, if you think about that guidance compass, I think is what it's called, it takes something which is typically considered as innate to us or an aspect of our inner life, our sense of purpose, our sense of direction, and actually objectifies it and creates this external reference point. So Ras is doing this kind of unusual thing where he has this compass that actually points him in the direction of the right path, rather than just looking inward for that. And yet, is it so unusual? We've already seen that this world is one dominated by some kind of religious presence that we don't quite understand yet, and an authoritarian king, and all of these different influences who give people, from an external point of view, a perspective or even a declaration of what the right path is. So again, I think that's one of those models that the more you look for it, the more you'll see it. This idea that the game is asking us to think not just about firsthand experience versus abstract theory, but also what it is to arrive at a perspective of our own intrinsically through our experiences. So again, drawing on that firsthand experience, but through more of the lens of having a purpose and a direction versus just being told that by something external to you in more of the sanitized and distanced way as theory and what is handed down through transmission in books and stuff like that makes possible. They sure did. Yep. Don't let it go unnoticed. This game made pot enemies decades before Elden Ring did. How about that? Take that, Miyazaki. No, Miyazaki, don't take anything. Just only take our gratitude for your amazing works. Pot buddy. Alexander, my boy. Leave it to Miyazaki. I love everything about that man and his oeuvre, but the fact that they went back to update Elden Ring to add a character quest for Alexander the Iron Jar is amazing. There you go. Just 16 years late to the party by Tales of Eternia standard. Oh, nice. Well, I'm sure you've seen this, Donut, but we have an alarmingly active Elden Ring channel, I guess to no one's surprise, really, in the Discord, where a few people, myself included, have been talking about the DLC as we worked through it. So we are very good, I would say, as a community about spoiler text. So don't worry about falling into spoiler traps, but you'll have plenty of redacted text to unredact as you proceed and want to join the conversation, and I hope you do. Yep, totally fair. And I mean, it's the kind of DLC like any of Miyazaki's works where I immediately wanted to replay it, and even having replayed it once, I just have so many follow-up things that I want to consider on subsequent playthroughs. Such a magic to his artistic language and design style. Why are there so many poisonous enemies? Stop this. Stop the madness. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just an inevitability, right, Grail? I mean, the same thing happened, and I think it's still happening with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I think it happens with most releases. I think the key is, right, like, find the corners of the internet and the communities that want to discuss it when you want to, but also are willing and able to discuss other things, or just have different corners of the internet for different purposes. That's one of the things that I really love amongst the different channels and aspects of the With a Terrible Fate community, is that I feel like we do a pretty good job collectively of, you know, being aware of and celebrating new releases, but it's not as if it represents those new releases as the end-all be-all and the only thing worth talking about. Like during Rebirth and even these past few weeks with Shadow of the Erdtree, I think have been great examples. Like, yeah, we talked about both of them. We talked about it to death, but it's not as if that eclipsed other conversations or studies of, you know, old school JRPGs or other publications that we were working on at the same time. It's all part of one continuous evolving library of game knowledge and experiences. So I'm telling you, man, that's why you gotta edit that feed, or just hang out more in the With a Terrible Fate Discord, or both.
Swallow dance. Rise and dragon strike.
Neo swarm.
But that's also why you should listen to the podcast episode tomorrow. I might have mentioned it after you came in, but the new episode will be out tomorrow, and a lot of it is about sort of, let's say politely, reorienting some of the direction of trends in modern gaming discourse. Not about this topic specifically, but sort of thematically similar ideas. And who knows, this might actually, I might talk to Dan about this because it might make a good conversation for a future podcast. So I do think I see such merit the more time we spend studying things together in the idea of gaming in slow motion. It's something which I adapted and paraphrased from one of the my favorite things that an old professor and advisor of mine would say, which is that philosophy is thinking in slow motion. And so what we try to do on With a Terrible Fate is gaming and thinking about gaming in slow motion. And I do think I really don't think it's as bad now as it was a few years ago, but there is a sense in which the hype cycle, I think, can oftentimes just make it the case that people almost weirdly, like, will see a new release they're excited about, and like we were talking about, like, truly forget that any other game exists or is worth consideration until they've just, like, binged that game to death and talked it to death and physically and mentally exhausted themselves of it in a way that oftentimes, in my experience, like, does not feel good and does not leave a good impression on you of the game. So why are you doing that in the first place? But yeah, I think it can be really rewarding to take on a different perspective of, like, recognizing and celebrating and honoring the newest cool things that are coming out, especially from creators you follow and value and in communities that are important to you, but recognize them at the same time and by the same token as the latest contribution to this ever-expanding history and saga of all these games that have been published for decades, and that something being the newest thing has no bearing on its quality or degree of development or cohesiveness relative to any other game that might have come out like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, any number of years ago. You do talk a lot in the With a Terrible Fate Discord. I certainly didn't mean to suggest otherwise. All I'm saying is, if this is your problem, the solution could be talking even more and maybe starting some non-Elden Ring related conversations, which you're also great at. So what I really mean to say, Grail, is keep up the great work.
Let's do it. Ha.
I love some new gloves for Farah.
Ha, ha. Rising Dragon Strike.
So we got new weapons for Reed and Farah. I'm sure there's a whistle hiding in here somewhere. The question is, will we find it?
Ha. Swallow Dance. Ha. Ha. Rising Dragon Strike. Don't take me lightly.
Glad we're getting some use out of those emotes. I miss Journeyman. Journeyman, wherever you may be lost right now, I hope you're doing okay. But yeah, every time I think about the emotes and the possibility of developing them further, I find myself missing your presence. I forget where we came out for this. I think it was at the top. Yeah, this is new. I think this is the right way. We talked about that at the top of the stream. Yeah, I found it curious too. My suspicion was, we know so little about Undine and the nature of the Greater CRAYMELS. I almost wondered, like, could there be some sense in which making a pact with Undine actually might have antagonized some of the other water CRAYMELS against us?
Take me lightly.
I don't know the answer to that, but it's a thought that I had, and I feel like it's the shape of a thought that might have interesting implications for stuff that we'll see later in the story. Can't interact with that. Oh, that's right, because it's down below.
Let's do it.
That's another thing that's fun about these old dungeons and just this style of representation. They play with perspective in a way that you can't always tell what's on your level or below you or above you. You have to figure it out through a bit of trial and error sometimes. Although if you look on the battle map, it indicates perhaps a little more clearly that dais is below us.
Neo Swarm. Ha.
Eagle Dive.
Neosonic Swarm.
Well, that question I know points to some important, deeper themes in Eternia, which I won't talk about that much, Grail, but what I will say is to say that Undine is more important because living things are distinguished by having the presence of water CRAYMELS is to imply or, like, be committed to the claim that life is more important than other things in the cosmos. And that's a substantive claim, and it's the kind of claim that I think Eternia really wants us to think about and ask, like, well, life seems to have value. Is it more important than all the other stuff in the world? A lot of interesting mystic riddles and paradoxes that we'll be meandering through and wrestling with in this game. Some of which we've already seen, but many of which are in the offing. I forgot to plug in my computer. Excuse me for a moment. I looked down and suddenly it was like, oh, 18% battery. That seemed bad. We're good. Okay, can we cook again? People's health is not where I want it to be. I'm gonna go with temporarily increasing attack. Damn it! Well, you have to fail in the kitchen before you can become a master chef, I suppose. It's the same way in life, my friends. Same way in life. That might have been overkill, but I think we are on the precipice of Sylph. Yep, that feels right. So again, I don't quite know the timing of load points, but it's because we investigated that load point. Now I want to save. That feels right. Yoo-hoo! Where are you, Greater Craymel? Shh, not so loud. It's loud enough. Hey there, Sylph, my boy. The Greater Wind Craymel. This twerp? I am Sylph, the Greater Wind Craymel. I congratulate you for making it this far. Sylph, we have request. I know, you want me to get into that cage, right? Please, Undine is already inside. What should I do? It's not as if I have nothing else to do. If you'd like, we can show you our strength. Undine taught us how this works. Not wasting any time, are you? But what I want to see is your heart, not your strength. Already we're seeing a different personality emerge. Okay. I forget whether Sylph can resummon the arms, but my gut is telling me no. So I'm going to take them on first.
Super lightning blade.
Swallow dance.
Yo, and Symphonia, it's a trio. Like, this is definitely one of those entities who really is quite materially different in the different games. Which also, remember, have different underlying metaphysics, so we shouldn't be surprised that there are differences. It's not like they're representing one and the same entity through the different Sylphs. Great track.
Swallow dance.
Yeah, that's not good. Come on. Oh, this really got away from me. You don't want to let it cast. Yeah, this is where I'm thinking I might end up switching back to Reed. I just can't manage Farah quite as well, and it's hurting us right now. It's a great track, but you know the Summon Spirit battle track in Tales of Symphonia and Fantasia is one of my favorites of all time. It works out because we're not fighting a spirit right now. We're fighting a Greater Craymel. Yeah, the key is you want to keep him from casting, which is annoying because he seems to always just get in annoying places in the air, and you have to get right on his level, and he teleports.
Swallow dance! Swallow dance!
Demon hammer! Dragon swarm!
Let's see how you fare against another Greater Craymel. This will help.
Undine! Behold my power. Swallow dance! Swallow dance! Swallow dance!
It's a boring way to fight with all the swallow dances, but I need a way to intercept him in the air. I guess Eagle Dive could do it too.
Eagle
Yeah, that'll do
dive!
it.
Swallow dance! Swallow dance! Swallow dance!
There we go. Tiny hitbox plus teleportation. But we did it. Hey, you're pretty tough for a bunch of humans. Can you enter the Craymel cage? What should I do? An uncertain Greater Craymel. It was also different from Undine. Damn it, we have no time to be fooling around. Oh, great Sylph, we humans are without power. In order to save the world, we beg you to lend us your power. You're lost without me? That is correct. You are our only hope. All right, fine. I'll get into that thing. It's funny with how seemingly casual Sylph is that genuflection is the way to actually convince him to join up. Good grief, he's a real handful. By the way, the Greater Fire Craymel lives in a really hot place. He's not mature like me, so good luck getting him to cooperate. It's all relative, I guess. Visions of Efreet. Whew, I'm exhausted. Now Undine and Sylph are on our side. The Greater Fire Craymel is the only primary Craymel left. I wonder if he really is more immature than Sylph. At any rate, let's get out of here. Good idea. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the Greater Craymels. Of course, you see shades of this in other games with the Summon Spirits, but I really feel like with these first introductions to them, between the dungeon structure that we talked about and then those interactions with the Greater Craymels themselves, you are asked along with the party to come to understand the element and to appreciate its idiosyncrasies, its elemental personality. And in this game, really, it's not just navigating like the physics of the element, but it's also really shown by the fact that the spirits have quite distinct personalities, and they're aware of that. Like Sylph just said, you know, good luck convincing Efreet. He's real different from what I am. So it's almost like seen through a certain point of view, you're coming to know and interact with a whole other party of characters, the party of the Greater CRAYMELS. Yeah, no, you got it. An extremely hot place, the land of Flanor, or whatever Snow World is called here, since we're in Inferia.
Let's do it. Go.
Well, you know, Flanor is hot in the sense of having the heat of passion. All those heart-to-hearts warm it up a bit.
Dragon Flash!
Oh, that's right. I'm late to the party. We can get new Craymel arts because we have Sylph now. So exciting. But first, let's fix Farah's poison status. With an omelet. I get one dad joke every stream, Donut. If you've been watching, you know this. So there, that's my one for the night. I was going to let that one slide by, too. Good catch. All right, to the Craymel cage. Excellent. So now, Meredy has air thrust. How is Undine doing for her level? She's level 8. Okay, nice. Oh, and we should have wind shards that we can use now. Yep. And a wind crystal. Even better. So where did that put him? Capped out. Oh, that's right. The crystals, I don't think they advance the levels of the Craymels. They just boost their preparedness to come out in battle, basically. I forgot that's how they worked. So I think the play is to try to get Sylph to catch up with Undine in terms of its level. So we'll assign air thrust to Meredy. Actually, it's dumb. We should do that after we leave this dungeon. So I don't think air thrust would be very useful here. There. I'll remap once we're out of here. Remarkable to me that no one died during that battle. We're still full up on life bottles.
Is that it?
Activity detected in the Craymel cage. It's fun. They don't explain this until later, but you get a lot of data. Again, thinking about the Greater CRAYMELS as a kind of party unto themselves, you get a lot of data on how they're interacting and developing in the cage, because there's more than one of them in there, you know, and they're along for the ride. And all those different indicators actually mean different things in terms of how you can take advantage of them in battle. I don't remember, but we will be told at a certain point. And remember, that's a good thing to situate this game in the history of the Tales of series also, because we are seeing this party member-esque representation of the Greater CRAYMELS in the game, which followed hot on the heels of Tales of Destiny, which was cool for so many reasons, not least of which the fact that it centered its story on a party of swords who were fully fledged party members and also pieces of equipment for the chosen wielders. Spear of Wind. Oh, really prioritizing thrust. One swing of the spear causes a gust of wind. I think I'm happy with the balance still.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's just no whistle for Meredy here or if I missed it. I feel like we got the rest of the treasures.
Demon lightning hammer! Super lightning blade! Neosonic swarm!
Is that it?
Yeah, fair enough. She did convince Sylph to come along with them. The ultimate whistle, a greater Craymel. Of course, we can't just jump back from there. That would be too easy.
Let's do it.
Backtracking is the way.
Rising dragon strike.
Dragon flash!
Swallow dance. Swallow dance. We won.
Alright. Sylph, I think leveled up was the indicator there. Sometimes it's hard for me to tell. Something good happened with Sylph.
Let's do it. Swallow dance. Rising dragon strike. Rising dragon strike. Phew, they were tough.
Is Farah still balanced? No, she needs to focus on kicking. What are her counts at? I'm surprised that she hasn't learned something new in a while. Oh, she has Twin Palm Strike now. So she did learn something new. I just totally missed it. Cool. Let's switch Palm Strike out for that. Anything else that needs some love? I forget what these cap out at in terms of what you want to get them to, but I can push the ones that aren't at 100 to 100 at least. It's a place to start. Cool. Wow. Reed takes a special kind of guy to fail at making a sandwich. A sandwich that's simple, at least. 3 ingredients? Come on, man. I can see going ham and just adding too much to the sandwich. No pun intended, I guess. Because that's definitely happened to me before, but just 3 ingredients? Come on, dude. You get bread for free! It's really a 2-ingredient sandwich.
Palm strike. Sonic fist.
Super lightning blade!
Oh, that double punch of the Twin Palm Strike is something else.
Yes!
All of her concentrated chi. Pretty cool fighting style, pretty cool representation of Farah's resolve. Oh, that perfect timing! I wasn't even trying. I think the easiest way to go back here is to intentionally fall down our little caterpillar of a trapdoor. Boop. Goodbye. Joke's on you, we did that on purpose! Sudden gust of wind. Can you call it a sudden gust of wind when it's just continuous? Because that's certainly what it feels like.
Let's do it. Swallow dance.
Swarm! Super lightning blade!
Twin palm strike.
It's like a 2-hit beast.
We took care of them.
Because, you guessed it, Farah Orsted is a beast. We can't go in here, right? Ah, it's so frustrating. What's the point in guarding a place like this? Oops, please pretend you didn't hear me. You've returned alive. Not bad for a bunch of kids. Queeky, queeky, queeky. What is it, Queeky? You hungry? I'm hungry too. One of Reed's 2 character traits. Excuse me. Huh? Oh, excuse me a minute. Queeky, kee. Are we in trouble? Do they know we have Sylph? Huh? No, I don't think so. What's going on? What did the Inferia guard say? I have a customer. There is someone who is interested in my pot. I am sorry, but I must be going. Huh? You're leaving us, Russ? No, do not go. Please help, Russ. Russ has lots of febrile. I must follow the path to which I am called. I am sorry. Come on, Meredy. Mustn't be selfish now. Baiba! It's okay. We can manage by ourselves. That's right. No problem. You bet. So notice, while Keel, looking back on it, was more of a figurative instance of this, Ras is a party member who quite literally has a direction and path to his life which is different than the path of the party. And so even though he joined them for a time, that doesn't guarantee he's going to stay with them, because their mission is not the most foundational guiding light in his life that's orienting what it is he's doing. Just as Keel presumably stepped back for the sake of his academic career and how the king bore upon that. Ras, thanks a million for showing us the way. Good luck with your business. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't compared him with Alvin in my mind, but yeah, I could see some continuity there. Definitely that kind of singular resolve to go your own way. Thanks. All of you, take care. Queen, so painful. What you mean to say is sad. He was a good person, though he could be awfully rude. And just when I thought I could leave the rest to him, he leaves. Who am I going to pawn this quest off to? Ah, she keeps touching me. No, you can't go away too, Reed. Do you need this weird glowing thing? What the heck is it anyway? Strong febrile. Koyo tono ponsonan rico lisoningo pontan. So it seems like it's another case of... now notice at least the word seems to have clarified, whereas previously it was pronounced and represented in different ways. Febrile seems to be the word that Meredy is saying, but when she tries to explain it, it again points to a context and a form of life with which Reed and Farah have no continuity, so we slip back into Melnyx. Sorry, not know how to explain. Case in point. But you know, Reed, don't you think it's a good thing to be needed? I wonder. So much in those 2 lines. Quickie! Uh-oh. Come on, Reed. We better hurry too. Received Ras's equipment. Quickie! No, they were saying it in different ways. Keel, what are you doing here? Quickie! I learned of your whereabouts in the town of Barol. I was the merchant town for those who might have missed last time. It's a long story. By the way, I saw an unfamiliar face go by. Who was that? That was Ras, a new member of our party. Was, anyway. A new member? You didn't go and tell him everything, did you? You bet. We told everything. Why did you do that for? Are you crazy? Do you want to make us criminals again? Key. But Ras has strong fibril. So what? Explain it to me so I can actually understand. Oh, Keel, stop scaring Meredy. Ras is just a merchant. He wouldn't report us to the king. Hey, what I want is to know why you're here. Why aren't you at the Royal Observatory? Did they send you packing already? Wait a minute. Are you serious? I'm so glad you came back to join us. I mean, it was really hard without you, Keel. Reasons that Farah is the best person in the world. Sorry. No, you don't need to apologize. Everything is A-okay, right? So, what do we do next? We have to find the Greater Fire Craymel, of course, in some really hot place. Here, you can have the aerial board. Oh! It's one of the Craymel arts. If you press square at the map screen, it's on the menu. It can travel over flat land, rivers, and oceans in any world where there are wind Craymels. What an interesting way to phrase that, Sylph. I'm sure it won't come up again. Press circle if you want to walk again. Are you suggesting we use the aerial board to find the Greater Fire Craymel ourselves? You're a sharp one. I'll give this art to you. I wish you well. Bye now. Time to go hunting for a fire Craymel. It's hard to believe we now have Sylph's cooperation too. We have 2 Greater Craymels. Now we can fringe! Hell yeah. I'm so excited to introduce this to you all. Fringe? Make new Craymel art! Except, it is no good if Greater Craymels are all in one Craymel cage. Separate the Greater Craymels, then fringe. Give it a try. So notice, it's literally a way of relating to the Greater Craymels that is impossible with just one person. It is intrinsically a form of communication. There's some pretty cool ones in this game. Yep, I think I alluded to this once already, but if you enjoy thinking about not just different ways of representing the world and things like the overworld, like we were talking about before, but also considering different means of navigation and how that informs your relationship with the world, this is the game for you. Yep, explain it to me so I can actually understand. A great line pointing to a lot of what this game is about, because so much of it is about coming to make sense of what the preconditions for explanation are and what we need to understand about ourselves in the world before phenomena can even count as having been explained to us, I think. Okay, so this allows us to swap them up. And then you can assign them, but it's not done until you actually fringe, and we'll see what that is. The description is, a new Craymel art may form. However, the vitality of the Craymels will be averaged. And see that? It's like a little, again, like a conversation or a sort of handshake between the 2 cages where they show what each has, they recognize that, and then based on what is present in which cages, you can actually derive new arts, which are synthesized from combinations of Craymels rather than just being sourced from one like Spread was for Undine. I think that's all we can do for now. I get it. Depending on how you combine Greater Craymels, different Craymel arts are formed. If we find more Greater Craymels, we should try out different combinations. So if they aren't kept separate, will the Craymel arts that have already formed become useless? You bet. Keep Greater Craymels divided. To be strong, that is the secret. Can you imagine how many different Craymel arts can be formed by trying different combinations? Keel, you figure out the rest. What's the LV that appears when you view a Greater Craymel? LV? Oh, you mean level. If Greater Craymel gains experience and level goes up, we can form many more Craymel arts. That must mean if we raise the levels and then fringe, we can form more powerful Craymel arts. You bet, right, Reed? It's no use asking Reed. All this stuff probably goes right over his head. Oh, yeah? Yeah, so in order to equip the Craymels to have more robust conversations with each other and derive more powerful arts, you'll actually advance their levels by sharing battle experience with them and enacting arts of their Craymel types in battle. So it's that kind of tight-knit relationship between conversations and first personal experience of the kind that we've been talking about the whole time, made manifest in what you will see is a very, very cool game mechanic and thematic centerpiece as we go on. Was there something else I wanted to say about Fringe? No, I think that's good for now. Oh, yes, I remember what I was going to say. It's worth mentioning. So fringing, notice, is something that, like Meredy said, is only possible when the Craymels are divided. So much of mysticism and thinking about our relationship with the world and the other is making sense of different units of being and relating parts to wholes and vice versa. And so it's pretty interesting and compelling right off the bat, I think, for Meredy to be saying and the game to be saying through this system, it's not as if you want to just amass everything and turn it into a single unit. Rather, the structure and the separateness of these entities is really important because you need to maintain what they are on their own terms and then achieve particular outcomes by creating those conversations and effecting understanding between them and other entities. It's a little microcosm of what we've already seen on the grand stage of Eternia, the universe, where these two worlds are held in this fixed suspension relative to one another that quite directly highlights their difference, but also their interdependence. Why is that the case? How did the world come to be that way? Obviously, we don't know that yet, but what we've just learned about Fringe indicates there's probably a method to the madness, and they're probably pointing to the same underlying principles. All right, now we are on a hunt for the Greater Craymel of Fire. But we have a cool new tool. Look at this. And a cool new traversal track, as must be the case, to accompany our cool new tool. Notice it does not eliminate the potential for random encounters, which I actually like. I always feel like it's a trade-off and like an understandable but frustrating one when you can use more efficient means of transportation, but they also prevent you from having random encounters because over extended periods of time that can really mess with your party's level. Being able to still benefit from that, I think, is a boon. So Farah learned something new. What do you have for us? What do you have for us? Oh, Death Blossom. Combination of Dive Kick and Triple Blossom. I love it. Oh, we do have Super Swallow Dance coming up too. We must have used Swallow Dance enough for that. It's probably just waiting to unlock based on a certain number of battles or something. Or maybe we can only get one skill at a time from battles. Very good. The art palette is expanding rapidly. I don't think we have a way of outright expanding the map yet. But we can definitely follow the mini-map. And that can help us find where we need to go next. Although, I wonder, if we look in the items menu, can we look at the map there? We can! Good, that's helpful. Okay, so we start... actually, so I don't think we've seen all of Inferia in one place before as a group. This is Inferia. See? So quite a bit to experience, well beyond the range of our journey so far. Yeah, that is an interesting idea, Grail. I'd never even considered that. Or even, you might imagine a more granular version of it where, because we know from the game that it derives from channeling it derives from channeling wind craymels, you might imagine, oh, maybe there's a meter for like wind craymel density in different regions, and so you can use it for longer periods of time or outright use it or not in different areas depending on whether or not there are a certain like concentration of wind craymels. Because just because wind craymels are part of Inferia, I don't think it necessarily follows that they're equally distributed across Inferia. There is indeed a lot of water. I wonder why that might be the case. Rolls over here. Yeah, so we want to head... We want to head east. Northeast, I think, is the last remaining region. And would you look at that? It almost looks like there's something volcano-ish there. Oh, did it? Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. I didn't even clock that. Yes. And notice that does make sense because it's not as if these are undiscovered places, and so it makes sense that a world map would actually indicate, yeah, these are cities in the world, even if you don't have any means of getting there yet. Kind of a cool way of foreshadowing, actually. Yes, surely we will find Celsius at the hot plates. Who else could be there? Alright, let's see how close we can get just using the airboard. Honestly, I don't remember whether we need to ferry or if we can just do it on the airboard. We'll find out. That is cool! Wow! It's like Rising Falcon into a, like, whirlwind fist and foot combo. Oh, I love that.
Sonic Fist. Okay.
Oh, that's right. And what I should be doing... Really, I should put air thrust here and spread here, and that way we can keep leveling up both of the greater craymels we have so far. Yeah, the fighting styles develop so much in this in really cool ways between like the different techniques bringing different arts to the table, and also then harmonizing with each other in Farah and Reed, and also just all of the Craymel arts innovations in Meredy and Keel. Notice, I hadn't even really processed this until I just said that sentence out loud. But if you think about the fighting styles of Farah and Reed, those two are kind of a microcosm of the sense that Meredy gave, that it's important to keep things separate and then put them in conversation with one another, because they have these two totally distinct paths for their capabilities. But then, as we've kind of alluded to before, where their real power emerges is from using both and harmonizing them without just trying to reduce it to a single fighting style. So even those who aren't actually using the greater craymels are espousing the same philosophy. Yeah, I bet you're right, Grail. That'll be the next time we play around with Farah's combos. We can try that out. She seems to be opening up on a lot of skills right now, so I'm mostly just focused on playing around with those a bit. Can we get over all the way to the other continent from here? I think we can.
Let's do it. Go. Death Blossom. Palm Strike.
Air thrust.
Twin Palm Strike. Go. Heal.
Air thrust.
Death Blossom. We don't lose.
She's even levels. I am going to try Death Blossom out of Swallow Dance. So because I'm thinking maybe using Swallow Dance again will be the trigger to learn Super Swallow Dance. Because if not, I'm not sure why that would be the case. But we haven't learned it yet.
Let's do it. Go. Swallow Dance. Death Blossom.
Yep.
Go.
Got that one right, Grail. You totally can do that.
Demon lightning hammer!
Well, you can, but now it's weirdly hard to trigger, because she definitely comboed them the first time.
Swallow
I
Dance.
can't seem to get her to do it again.
Can't beat me.
Another one. Another one. What level are we at now? Going on 26? Not bad. Not bad. And to the ocean! Whee!
Let's do it. Go. Swallow Death Blossom.
There it is.
Super lightning blade!
Aqua Edge. Air Thrust.
Twin up. Go. Heal. Okay.
Death Blossom is also just such a cool name for an attack. You know what it sounds like? Speaking of Richard, it sounds like one of his attacks. Death Blossom. Yeah, I think you might be right about that, girl. Oh, I'm in the wrong area of the world. Pull up the map again. Oh, yeah, I was thinking I was in a different wrong area, but yeah, we just need to keep going east. I stopped prematurely. He does have that move. Yep, that's where I heard it before. Yeah, to my knowledge, I can't think of anyone who has it before him. Maybe Senel? I only say that because I still have to replay Tales of Eternia and I haven't played that in forever, so I wouldn't be surprised if he had it. But beyond him, I can't think of anyone who would even be a candidate.
Let's do it.
Jude definitely doesn't have it.
Death Blossom.
Nor Regal.
Swallow Dance.
Air Thrust.
Twin Palm Strike. Go. Palm Strike. Go.
Demon Lightning. Air Thrust.
Go.
It's over.
Yeah, I mean, don't put yourself out, especially when you're on the phone, but I am curious now that we're talking about it. Very funny also that Senel autocorrects to Sarah. City of Scorched Sand, Shambard. Man, it's hot. Oh, you were talking about Farah, got it. Shambard is famous for its extreme heat, but I never thought it'd be this bad. Yeah, looking at all the evolutions and different iterations of all the different combat styles and seeing how many versions of each there are. So I'm sure there are some that are pretty much unique, whereas others have a whole family. That would be really cool. It seems silly to even be wearing clothes, don't you think, Meredy? Meredy, are you alright? Meredy, alright. Is the climate in Celestia different from Inferia? It is a dark, cool world. Very cool. I'm starting to wish I were there now. Celestia is a nice place. You should visit. Meredy, don't faint on us. You bet. Oh no. Get this girl some water. Get her some ice. This is Shambard, the city of scorched sand. People come here from all over the world to experience the pleasure of a good sweat. A sauna manifest as a city. I love that heat effect of just the waves of heat emanating in the light. Say, do you think it's right for us to be spending time like this? At a time when Inferia is on the brink of war? As they say, as soldiers are to wars, gel merchants are to gels, right? Watching the fountain, it feels like it could suck us right in, doesn't it? Maybe you should let it. Can't tell if they're nihilistic or just pensive or out of it because of the heat. Hey, remember when I said we'd be seeing more characters from Tales of Destiny? This is Irene. Without giving too many spoilers away, if you haven't read my study or played the game, it is to Irene that we owe the icicle pop motif in the series. It first came up with her in a sequence between her and our hero Stan. I see you've collected 5 lenses. If you could collect 5 more lenses, I'll give you a special item. So I guess maybe by slight way of more background, without a lot of spoilers, Irene is a member of the company that it basically controls the world's supply of lenses, this important material sourced from a meteor in Tales of Destiny. And so she shows up here basically collecting those Destinian lenses, which you can find and rewards you with some very powerful items based on how many you get. Triple Rage Kick is the same as Death Blossom Grail? Is that what you're saying? Am I following that right? Oh yeah. Interesting. I feel like Death Blossom is a much better name for it. So I feel like Triple Rage Kick, that doesn't really capture the dive aspect of it. Dear Diary, it's hot. On second thought, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot! That's the only thought. There is only hot. Nothing else matters. Not anymore. Found a rune bottle. They're just lying around all over the place in Eternia. Please come in. Hot day, isn't it? It sure is. Never a bad time for a restock. We'll see how long we take getting to know the town here. I could see us having time for the Greater Craymel of Fire yet, or we might run out of time. We'll see how it goes. Can't go in here, I guess. You want to know why it's so darn hot? It's not only because of the blazing sun, it's also because the fire craymels gather in this town. So it's fiery from 2 sources, within and without. Yeah, you would think that, Grail. My guess, or at least what it puts me in mind of first, is, remember, the thing that is distinctive of life is the presence of water craymels. So it might be that even though water craymels and fire craymels are both native to this world, living things, just by virtue of their constitution, are not equipped to deal with fire craymels as well as they can with water craymels. You're in way too wimpy shape to beat Shambaloon. I smell a minigame. If you beat it, I'll give you all of my money. I'm going to practice hard. Nothing like a good old-fashioned inn. Father! Oh, we're not going to get any more context there? Maybe if we rest at the end. Let's go in here first. Oh! Catman? Oh, he was hiding on a whole bed. That's unusual. I am the mysterious Wonder Chef. I'll show you how to make a rich and filling carbonara pasta. Oh, I just had pasta before this Wonder Chef, but you know, I could go for seconds. 5 ingredients: pasta, cheese, bear meat, eggs, and milk. Bear meat really is just the meat staple in this world, it seems. Have a nice day. No wonder we're seeing so many bears around. I'm sure it won't come up again. 7 ways to conquer the heat. How to get through a tropical night. It's hot because you think it's hot. It's all in your mind. Today I will prove idealism in order to stay cool. Kitty, please, I'm trying to talk to your human. Oh my god, please, I'm begging you. Oh, how I do love cats. Here, kitty, kitty. That was worth it, right? It was worth it. Anyone who loves cats that much deserves our conversation. And what's Tales of Eternia about? It's about learning the effort required of conversation and coming to understand that it is worth it. That's a good point, Grail. Yeah, some of those bears, the what are they called? The war bears that we encountered in the field around Morlaix, were ridiculous size. Anything gonna happen if we rest here? I'm interested in that fella ostensibly looking at a bust of his own father. I guess we can't do anything with him for the moment. Alright, onward. Darling Aya, always so cute and charming. I want to talk to her, but I can't. Maybe we can help? I got a lens, but I don't think we get to have this statue identified. Maybe some kind of hero? Oh, I just love strong guys. How about it? Care to take the challenge? Oh, we found Shambaloon, the ultimate test of fighting skill, invented by yours truly. I mean, we have to try it once. Good. Do you want instructions? Please. Attack and destroy all of the floating objects. Finish in under the target time to win. Yeah, I think this is a precursor to later balloon games in the series, none of which I'm especially fond of. It is. Well, it's the progenitor to that.
Whew, that was close.
Oh, was the guy in the inn a Star Ocean reference? Is that what you're saying, Grail? Alright, well, let's try again when I'm actually paying attention. That first level at least might be feasible. Oh my god, dude. The semi is killing me.
All right.
No, that was so much worse. Oh, you were just joking. Got it. Alright. I'm not going to try the way I did with the counting minigame, which still haunts me. We can go back. We can always go back. All living things come from the sea and will eventually return to the sea. Humans are no exception. And we know the science underpinning that because we are, because living beings, including humans in this world, are constituted by water craymes. Bionic sounding talk? Are you saying there's an issue with my... Oh! I thought you were saying my mic sounded bionic. Yes, it does evoke the Bionis a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, the organic and the mechanical, I would venture to say that is not an awful lens to apply to Tales of Eternia either. We surely want to give the elven boots to someone, and it surely is going to be Reed. That's better. It sure is, buddy. It sure is. It'll get you every time. The autocomplete and the autocorrect. With their powers combined, you'll never be able to say anything. Yeah, Don't give me acid flashbacks to when we couldn't get the mic working now. Can we talk to you again now? No. Okay. I think we're supposed to be able to catch Katrine again here. If I can find the right place. I'm not seeing her. Oh, this I think is maybe a new screen, so maybe we still have to talk to people here anyways. The Greater Fire Craymel? I have no idea, but if you cross the desert going southeast from here, you'll come to a fiery place called Efreet Gorge. Ooh, that's a name some of us might know. If you are looking for Efreet Gorge, you need to go southeast of here. Ah, here we go. Isn't that Katrine from Minchi University? And I'll remind you, the previous step in her journey is the one I missed, so this is all new for me now. It's been such a long time. Hey there, did you make it to Inferia City? No, I just now learned how to get there. Our exclusive dress and Rasheen's dye Hawaiian shirt. That'll be 30,000 gold, please. Do you have time to be shopping right now? The storekeeper suggested that I would need really nice clothes if I'm going to Inferia City. They're way too expensive, and you don't need them anyway. No, thank you. Right now, you can pay in 12 easy installments. No, thanks! I feel like I'm back in Tales of Xillia, too. I'll knock 50 gold off the price. No, thank you! All right. 50 gold off 30,000. Now it's a bargain. Thanks so much. I was about to lose my travel money to go to Inferia City. It's fun because we haven't been talking about this, but if you pay attention to each leg in our journey, you see all of the things that could go wrong that would cause her to fail to end up there if the party didn't intervene, like when she was humoring the old man who was senile and thought that she was his granddaughter or something, and now like if she spent all her money with the merchant, then she wouldn't be able to reach there because she wouldn't have the funds. Uh-oh, I better hurry. No thanks, no problem. All the nose. She's the queen of the nose. Rasheen's dye swimsuit. Oh boy, that is it's a serious demo, huh? Sounds like there's a lot of time on that. And Rasheen's dyed t-shirt. So that must just indicate how long the game is, right? If they can get away with the demo being that long. I'm impressed with your staying with it. I really think I would have just started up from scratch with the full game if I had access to it and was still working through the demo. But please feel free to browse at your leisure. Farah scares me. Perhaps you'd like something cool to wear? Armor shop. Fashion shop. I would like those ribbons and mittens. Thank you very much. Oh, they are very expensive though. Jeez, look at that. You know what I'm going to do? Oh, I forget how this works. But we already have 2 rune bottles, so we can try it. Can I make charm bottles better? I think I can get an even steeper discount. Miracle charm. Yes. Ah, I love it when my memory pans out. Fair enough, Grail. You know I can relate to that. You can get half off. Yeah, so if you've never played any of the earlier Tales of games, a lot of the meta they never really explained to you is figuring out how to work the rune bottles. There are a lot of special items and just latitude they give you to navigate the world in better ways. If only you explore them. There we go. And do the same with Meredy. I'm okay with that. I sure had some better accessories for Keel, but I don't think it's worth it to buy those more expensive capes. Hold out for something better. Alright. Got that. And we're connected with Katrine. That's what I was worried about. We can just see the other places here and then roll on. The chef here can't be beat. She didn't earn the title Taste Master for nothing. Oh, a title, you say? There are definitely titles in this game, though we haven't earned that many of them yet. Hey, it's a restaurant. Let's chow. Excuse me, young man. Chambard Bistro is not a restaurant. Could have fooled me calling it a bistro. You're kidding, right? The building, the decor. What else could it be? It's a high-class place, so we're not welcome. That's what you mean, right? No, I did not mean that at all. Then what did you mean? As they say, cooks fight their battles in the kitchen. Chambard Bistro is an arena where elite cooks pit their cooking skills against each other. They call it Hell's Kitchen because it's so hot here. If you think your cooking can compete, then please come right on in. I'm not sure I follow you, but it sounds interesting. No problem. Welcome to Chambard Bistro. Do you know about AutoCook? Try it out if you're tired of restoring HP or curing abnormal status after every battle. It's also a good way to conserve your TP. To use AutoCook, select the cook command, choose a dish, and press square. It'll do the cooking for you after each battle. I forgot this was in here. Press triangle to select the character and set the conditions for AutoCook. To cancel, just press square. See how handy it can be by setting omelets to be used only when an ally is inflicted with an abnormal status. If you're missing ingredients for omelets and other dishes, you can buy them at the store. Love that. The Taste Master has never been defeated in a cooking contest. She is a true genius of cooking. You can't fool me, Wonder Chef. The bet almost did, but not with something so obvious as a giant bottle of wine. I am the mysterious Wonder Chef. I'll show you how to make seafood pasta, a dish that's hearty and satisfying. I learned how to make seafood pasta. Seafood pasta has 4 ingredients: pasta, squid, shrimp, and tomatoes. My boy. I feel like he shows up more frequently in this one because it's been a pretty regular occurrence to find him in more than one place in a single town. Because usually I feel like he just has one appearance in most towns and games where he presents himself. If you wish to enter the cooking contest, please purchase a ticket. Must be at the kiosk. Do you wish to enter? The fee is 10,000 gold. Oh, we do have enough, but that's like all our gold. We will at some point. I might hold off for the moment. I wanted to see if we could get to a weapon shop or some other equipment shop first. I'm Kissy. I'm a real stickler when it comes to food. Did you have more to say? No. I am Gaibara, Commander-in-Chief of the Taste Warriors. Really is a war here, folks. Yeah, I wonder too, Grail. I wonder if that's an aspect of the localization or just the actual Japanese language that's used versus the other games. And the interesting thing too, which makes this just such a multiply interesting cultural artifact, is because it was the second game ever that was localized. It really could go either way, you know. It might have been that they were still finding their footing with the right way to express the language in translation. Or it might be that there really was something different about this one. Gotta lend Dan my Japanese copy and see what the Japan scholar has to say about it. Let's see if we can find those other shops. Hot shot! I think this is what we're looking for. Widdock! Why do you follow us everywhere? My lad, are you checking the numbers that appear after a battle is over? AVG indicates your average battle length. PTS is your battle skill score on a scale of 100. The higher it is, the better you are. The precursor to grade. Stuffed snake may be used as a cane. Even the finest weapon will be of no use in the hands of an incompetent. For that reason, we do not accept returns. It's funny because the first piece I was ready to go off on as an interesting philosophical thesis, but then the second piece made it clear what they're saying is, oh, yeah, if the weapon doesn't work, it's just because you're bad, and so we're not going to give you your money back for it. You should just try getting good. You should always think armor before weapons. Excuse me, armor before weapons. So expensive here, too. So we have stuff for the boys. I imagine we'll see them everywhere. Oh, that's true. We can sell some things, can't we? I think we're going to start quickly getting better equipment, so I might offload the poison charms just so we have some more money to play with. A good idea, Grail. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I'm gonna do away with the poison gloves too, because they're just gonna get outclassed by equipment with better stats. But I'm gonna keep the elemental ones. That seems important. Oh, we got so many nimble rapier drops. I love that. What is it that you're using right now? Oh, you're using that dagger, right? Alright, I'll keep one of the rapiers. And the Shamsel too. Well, that's still a lot of gold we just got. That's great. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that would be interesting if the shop, like if you tried to sell something to them that they had sold to you, they would refuse it. But still, I think even then, I think it's more of like it's a system where you don't get back in a sale price to them what they charge for it. It's like it's retail prices versus like resale prices. So it's still not like they're giving you a return per se. They're just saying, okay, this is what we're willing to buy for it now that you're the one selling it to us, which is not the same amount. I don't think I have another charm bottle, do I? No. Is there a way to make it with a rune bottle? I don't remember. I'm sure there is, but I don't remember what to do. That's fine. We have enough gold. We should just be able to eat the cost of stuff here now. Hey, remember that offense is your best defense. The yin and yang of equipment shops. That one is balanced. Those are not. Let's go with balance. And a new whistle, finally. Pretty whistle. A whistle sounded before battle. Looks like a conch. And a gem rod for kill. Excellent. Dow blade. Cool name. Wish the description matched it. Oh yeah, that's great. Ah, you have an eye for quality. Thank you for buying my tchotchkes. Good. Alright, now we're gonna have to wait on entering the cooking contest, but that's okay. It's good to take the opportunity to get re-kitted. I'm sure it will look great on you. It sure does, merchant. It sure does. I think that's everything. Did we go down here already? Yes, this is bikini. Okay. Alright, very good. Onward to Efreet Gorge. I think we have time to start it at least. I don't perfectly remember how long it is, but I don't remember it as taking as much doing and redoing as Sylph's Cave. I know everyone remembers that famous moment in Tales history when Reed finally convinced everyone to let him go home and then the game just stopped.
Let's do it. Go. Death Blossom.
But yeah, it's a cool moment to be exploring the world now that we have this airboard and taking a look at the world map, because remember, this is not a game with the same kind of special reveal after an entire arc that we get in a Tales of Symphonia, where we think that we're navigating the whole world and then we realize, oh, that's actually just half the world. There's Silverant, but there's also Tetheala, and suddenly your worldview explodes in what can be a really magical and transformative way, especially if you're a kid experiencing that kind of thing for the first time. And good news, I wrote about that if you want to read more. This game is very upfront. There are two worlds. You can see them. You observe the other one in a telescope. So getting a sense of the scope and everything you can explore on this world, even knowing that there's another one beyond your reach, and now knowing that there's a point of passage to it, really simply must make you quiver with anticipation about everything that has yet to be revealed, that's just waiting for you in these worlds. And all of these secrets and mysteries that the world is already promising you, you can uncover, because that's what everyone, from the academics to the nobles to commoners to religious leaders, are saying. There's so much unknown about this world, and it really seems like we've already learned many times over that the only way to unravel and engage those mysteries is to go out and experience them for yourself firsthand. How cool it is then to be in a party of JRPG characters called to do exactly that with their purpose and their journey. No, but he's at least going along with it for the moment. And who knows, I hear that sometimes the attitude of heroes changes over the course of a story. But you're right. I think all players and characters except for Reed Herschel are quivering with excitement. He's the odd one out, and he should feel real bad about it. My little girl was barking in her sleep, if you couldn't hear that on the mic. One of my favorite noises in the whole wide world. Efreet Gorge. Okay. Ooh, it's hot here. There's no way we can stand this heat. It's too intense. You always give up way too easily. We'll find a way. How? Well, Monton Mignon Senton Monfenyo Conlanrio Undine. So, you have arrived at Efreet Gorge. Yes, we're here to find the Greater Fire Craymel. Could you help us get through? You cannot touch the fire. We'd get burned. Undine, aren't you hot? Pretty cool. Channeling her own essence to create a new path for her human compatriots. Craymels can cross freely between the physical and spiritual worlds. We do not feel heat. It's not native to their essence. How convenient. How lucky. Undine, I thank you for helping us. Thank you. I will use my power to protect you from the heat as long as I can. But be careful. I can only suppress the heat. It may still be quite hot. Summoning Undine was a great idea, Kill. Let's hurry. We don't know how long Undine's effects will last. So, a couple of things that are really fun about this. First off, you might have noticed, you'll see it on the screen when I go back. I'm not going to go back to it right now. But we're going to have a time limit on this dungeon, so that's also going to help us to go more quickly with it. You might remember I talked at the end of the Tales of Xillia 2 stream about how the 4 elemental spirits were providing this kind of elemental shield to the party so that they could navigate Canaan. Excuse me. And I mentioned, oh, that's a really cool homage to something that happened way back in Tales of Eternia, because the spirits actually help you on the level of dungeon navigation to get through these elemental areas you wouldn't otherwise be able to pass through as people. And so you're going to see the origin of that here. This is where that comes from. And in a way that I think has cool gameplay elements that didn't show up in Tales of Xillia. Also, it occurred to me, thinking about the essences of different beings and like what worlds they participate in, for all the reasons we've been talking about in the last streams and tonight, is really important. It's also kind of fun because if you draw the conclusion that I think the game wants you to draw from what Undine is saying about the nature of heat and physical experiences in Craymels, you kind of get an answer to that funny like joke pop philosophy question, is water wet? Like, is the thing that itself makes things wet, or is that wrong? Is that like a question wrongly asked? What's the best way to deal with that? I think in Tales of Eternia what they're telling us is that fire is not hot and water is probably not wet, because those are physical effects brought about by Craymels, and because Craymels are themselves non-physical, incorporeal things, they actually don't participate in feeling the corporeal effects of their own existence, even when they channel themselves into the physical world. So interesting to think about that in terms of the nature of experience, distinguished between what it is that you put out into the world and what it is that you receive from it, with the understanding that some beings might be able to straddle worlds to which they're able to relate in materially different ways. It's a good question, Grail, about which one I prefer. I think one of the things that I really loved diving into with my study of Tales of Vesperia is that I really love all of the representations of spirit-like entities in the Tales of games in different ways, because I think they're all kind of like a family of related concepts that are sharing their own messages and bringing their own perspectives to the table. And so it would be nice to do just a comparative review of all of them at some point, but that would be a really overwhelming project. I think on the whole, I still need to sit with and think about the Xillia duology more, but I really love Tales of Eternia, and I think the way it weaves its Craymels into its world and what the characters are up to and what it means for them to go on their journey is a huge part of that. So I would say that I think Eternia sets the bar and sets the terms of engagement for the conversation that I think many of the games that follow then participate in. Alright. Now then, let's race.
Let's do it. Ha.
Might not be able to get through the whole thing, but we'll try.
Go, go. Here. Palm strike.
Sylph!
My boy, the little archer.
Go, go. Palm
I was talking over him, but a fun thing, so
Air thrust!
that conversation with Sylph is not voiced, but you can hear his voice in battle. It's a very silly little gremlin style voice. Yeah, I do think it would be nice to do more of those like overarching holistic studies of different like concepts and how they appear in the games as we get further into it. My hope is also, and I don't know if this will actually play out, like as I do more of the individual really in-depth studies it'll be easier to just like reference the work that I've already done as opposed to doing a lot of new work from the ground up when we're doing those broader comparisons, which will hopefully make them a little more wieldy and manageable as well.
Phew, they were tough.
I don't know that I'd say all of them, though. I mean, when you get through the heart study, for instance, you'll see one of the things I say about that is I actually think it's pretty important to hearts and what it is that it's saying, that while there's a ton of spirituality in the game, it's basically a world without anything that's quite like gods or spirits. But even then, I think like the base context for the series, much of which is set by Tales of Eternia, is a world that is governed by something like spirits. And so I think you feel that absence in a game like Tales of Hearts are exactly because there's this norm in the series that it's departing from. So it's not like a game that just happens not to feature spirits. It's a game where it's very important that it is lacking this element that most of the other games do feature in one way or another. So this is an interesting thing to think about, again, navigating like the consequences of elements in order to learn about them before we engage with the Greater Craymel. Those fires, they're not walls, you can go through them, but 3 guesses what it does to Undine's hit points. I think there are some we have to go through, but a lot we can just go around. I forgot that this game is also very generous with weapons that drop from random encounters. Did you notice this? I didn't call it out, but we have gotten already at least one flamberge, the flaming sword, from one of these battles here in Efreet Scourge. This, I think, is a dead end. Yeah, it's a trick.
Let's do it. Ha! Swallow death blossom.
Air thrust.
Ha! Death blossom.
Why does it keep erasing her shortcuts all the time? It must just reset when they rest or something, but it's very annoying. Better to know now than during a boss fight, I guess.
All right.
Lemon gel! Lemon gel! Alright, I want to go this way. Oh! Undine, I'm so sorry! That one we had to do. Yeah, did you see? I think I saw that eat through more than 1,000 of her hit points. Oh, maybe. I feel like I've set them from the main menu just while we've been exploring before though. That's worth trying at least to weed out that possibility the next time we see it happen. Another flamberge, look at that. Another great navigation track, by the way. One indicating just the undercurrent of stress racing against the clock before our shields fall apart. Heal, are you alright? I'm fine. Let's take a break. Really, I'm fine. I don't want to wind up carrying you. I'm tired too. We've been walking for ages. Let's rest.
Are you weaker than you were back when we were kids?
The voicing always starts when they're actually resting around the campfire. Which is interesting too. Like they make the decision, but it's only once they're actually engaged in the ritual that the voices come up.
Reed, I told you to quit it. Keel has been busy with his studies, you know. It's natural for him to get tired with all this sudden exertion. Keel, are you really okay?
Boy, I'm pathetic. I've got Farah worrying about me again, like I'm still a snot-nosed kid.
That's not true, Keel. I know you're not a kid anymore.
You bet! Keel knows very many things. You are very, very wise, but not perfect. I can help. We are friends, pals.
It's a great line, too. You are very, very wise, but not perfect.
Right, just like Meredy says. We all help each other. Nobody's good at everything.
We need to fringe, you might say.
You've always been so nice, Farah. Always trying to help out strangers. You weren't just a mean boss.
Really? I don't know. Hey, wait a minute, Keel. Who was a mean boss?
Took her a minute.
Sorry.
As mighty as ever.
My bad. I worry that you're still interpreting me as the person I was 10 years ago in our childhood. The level of interpretation and meaning making intersecting with how we relate to others beyond ourselves coming up again. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Thanks for pointing that out, Grail. And thanks for reminding me about that video. I did have it on my list to watch at some point, but you know how I am with videos. Yeah, that makes me very happy. Strange. This door won't open. There's something engraved on it. Show the power of light and the door will open. The power of light? Alright. I think after playing this once, I'll be able to keep things like that in my head, but you all can be my extended mind in case I forget about them later on. Same with this door. A craymelism that we don't yet have access to.
Neosonic Swarm!
Oh, perfect. That kind of link management does help, especially in longer videos.
Neosonic Swarm!
Twin palm strike!
Air thrust!
That should do.
Undine up. Undine up, Undine out. Okay. We're doing okay. Yeah, it's like Mega Rising Falcon, right? Maybe not as cool as Rising Phoenix, but definitely very cool. Ugh. Baiting me with a life bottle. What a waste of hit points.
Let's do it! Death Blossom!
Oh, I like the way she can just net a bunch of enemies in its hitbox too.
Demon Lightning Hammer!
Swallow Dance! It looks like we won!
Can't wait to sell all of these swords we're getting. Except for one. I'm worried about running through too many of these fires just for chests. They're probably pretty good chests.
Swallow Dance!
Air thrust!
Swallow Dance! Death Blossom!
Air thrust!
Phew, they were tough.
Oh, Farah almost KO'd on that one. So busy thinking about Undine's health, didn't stop to think about poor Farah's. That's stupid. Don't do that. Maybe we just go on for now. Even my powers are not enough to protect you from these flames. Pass through quickly when the flames go out. Please be careful. Okay, 2 chests, 1 on each side. Ah, blue ribbon. That wasn't really worth it. I think we already got those. Oh, come on. There we go.
Let's do it. Ha. Death blossom. Ha. Ha. Twin palm strike. Ha. Ah. To. Ha.
I see it.
To. Ha. Swallow dance. Ha. Palm strike. Ha. To. Ha. No problem.
Bracelet. Is that worth anything? I think we might have gotten that too. Oh, better for kill. That's something. Alright. God bless. Didn't take too long. Probably could have risked it with some more of those walled off chests along the way, but I'm hoping, I forget how it works, but I'm hoping if we succeed in making the pact with Efreet, it'll be easier to get them on the return trip. Cool. Alright. Fasten your seatbelts, everyone. Let's see if we can make the immature fire Craymel bend to our will. Oh, so hot! This heat is terrible. Shh, the Greater Craymel should be around here somewhere. Where could he be? Oh! Eek! Gasp! Ah! Help! Reckless, foolish humans, remember your place. Not one for talking. Ready to test our strength before we even suggested it. Oh, God. Forgot he could do that. Yeah, he reminds me of Jafar in genie mode in Aladdin. I'm gonna grab and fire punch you to death. He's the last one I ever would have expected here in this fiery gorge.
Super lightning blade. Air thrust.
Suffer.
Air thrust.
Just mean. Alright. So I like that too because again, consistent with his dungeon and presumably the nature of fire, the battle, I mean it's hard, but it's full throttle and force. You have to just run through it. Like, that is not a battle that's meant to be a war of attrition. You gotta get it done in, like, a minute or less. Yeah, I told you, he's Jafar, genie mode. Kingdom Hearts, same thing. Meredy, be careful. Still? I would have thought that would have equalized by now. But yeah, some of his attacks didn't seem to be doing much. Oh! Roar! Come! Bye-bye! Efreet, stop! How disgraceful. Shrinks. Undine, have you become a slave to these humans? I entered the Craymel cage of my own free will. Surely you must know the situation. I'm the Greater Fire Craymel. I can't simply leave and abandon my duties here. And notice again here, not just the personality, but how they are directly speaking and arguing with each other and barely even paying attention to the humans. We're just bearing witness. It is precisely because you are a Greater Craymel that we need you. Raise the Craymel cage. Which will we choose? Meredy is rocking Undine, so why don't we put Efreet in with her so she can manage him? You bet! Oh, ah! My joke noise was the actual noise he made. Hey, wait a minute. Is it really okay to just force him in? Undine, are you alright? What? What's happening? We're not getting punished, are we? Eek! Oh! You are the Greater Light Craymel. REM? That is correct. Wow. I forgot he showed up this early. The greatest Greater Craymel? That's right. REM is a governing Craymel that unifies the three primary Craymels under her. So again, notice we're getting another level of this really clearly articulated hierarchy. So now we have ordinary Craymels, the immaterial stuff that makes up the elemental substance of the world. And we have greater Craymels that govern them. And now, in fact, we have governing Craymels who preside over the greater Craymels, but also are, in some sense, a synthesis of them. We saw Undine and Efreet and Sylph combine into REM. Yes, and this is also a great theme for REM. REM, we have a favor to ask you. We would like you to stop the Grand Fall. That I cannot do. No! You, the humans alone, have caused this problem. It is a problem that must be solved by humans. Interesting, so REM understands what's behind the Grand Fall, whereas it seems even Meredy, so far as we know, doesn't really know how it came to be in the first place. Are you saying the Grand Fall is caused by humans? Here, take this. Although that ellipsis from Meredy, maybe she knows more than she's letting on. The Sorcerer's Ring, and what a way to get access to the Sorcerer's Ring. This might be my favorite bequeathment of the Sorcerer's Ring in an entry in the series. With this, you can use R1 to fire a laser beam. It's a Sorcerer's Ring! Use the ring to cross the Bridge of Light. Talk about an important use of the Sorcerer's Ring. It's not just for hitting monsters in the field, folks. The Bridge of Light? REM, wait! We have many more questions to ask. Yeah, I think if you are not yet sold on Tales of Eternia, shame on you. You haven't been paying attention. But I do think this whole scene does a great job of setting the tone for a lot of what will follow in the game. It sets up so many of the core considerations. It presents to you a new layer of the world that will help to unify and explain a lot of what we haven't even really attended to as warranting explanation yet. And how great the way it presents out of nowhere, right? It reminds me a little bit of when Undine appears alongside Volt at that moment in Tetheala in Tales of Symphonia, and before you even know what it means, they just announce a mana link has been severed, and suddenly you get this whole new understanding of the world that guides what the party is capable of, and also what it is that they have to relate to and undo, right? Because at the heart of the mana links and why that's something that needs addressing is mythos and everything that they don't really know about yet. A lot of similar tones coming up here in this amazing revelation that, oh, it's not that we were looking for 4 greater Craymels, it's that we were looking for 3 who are fully realized in this form of light, that governing entity which presides over Inferia and presumably over those Craymels that are lesser relative to her. Haha, what's the matter? Where did REM go? Who knows? I mean, I would hope that you would. Is REM in the Craymel cage? Of course not. Don't you know? REM is a governing Craymel. You are right, Grail. In the Doth library, I think you can get that information. And there's the Tower of REM, of course. Undine! REM is no longer here. You must trust in what she said and continue your duties. Continue our duties, but, and notice that trust in what she said, it's something like an article of faith, but it's a faith in REM that has come from a conversation with her and a belief in how she relates to the world. So a different color to faith than those which we've seen so far in something like what little we understand of the Church of Seifert, or more to the point, the way in which citizens of the Inferian Empire treat the king and his words as this object and nexus of fate. Continue our duties, but take very good care of the Sorcerer's Ring. A key, something which projects a path, a bridge in fact. Do you have the guiding compass of Ras in mind? It should have been called to your mind by then. And her HP keeps going down, notice. Do you know how to fringe? I would like you to teach us more, Meredy, for the benefit of the group. Well, and to be fair, Grail, I mean, both games kind of copied that from mysticism in general, like we talked about with Tales of Xillia 2, when we went down our Kabbalistic road with that. I think it's part and parcel of a lot of those mystic and esoteric practices that to harmonize yourself with the universe and actually to redeem the universe and put its spirit back where it belongs, that's an activity that has to start like from the individual, extend out into the world, and thereby return to the individual, right? So I think that idea of the spirits themselves saying this is something humans have to do. Like, notice the spirits are still coming along. They're still there. It's not a journey that is divorced from the spiritual and elemental content of the world, but it's something where those metaphysical beings in a position to guide humans are directly telling them, like, you're the ones who need to figure out the path that you want to walk. Tell us about acquiring new Craymel arts. By fringing special Craymel combinations, using the Craymel Cage command of the main menu, you can acquire new Craymel arts. Combination of water and wind form heal, fire and water sharpness, and fire and wind concentrate. And that, my friends, is the tip of the iceberg. You can only acquire new Craymel arts when those Craymels have reached the required experience levels. To acquire sharpness, fire must be level 5 and water level 7. For concentrate, wind must be 6 and fire must be 5. Some amount of Craymel experience levels can also be raised with shards and other items. Oh, so that does raise their level, okay. Oh yes, and this is where we learned about post-battle messages, as I alluded to earlier this stream also. Tell us about the color of arts in the cage. When you select a Craymel in the Craymel cage, a list of the Craymel arts associated with that Craymel will appear. Show us! Okay, thank you. New Craymel art formed, Eruption, a classic. Craymel arts shown in white can be used in battle. Craymel arts shown in blue cannot be used because their levels are not high enough. Although the combination of Craymels is correct, so it's a way of, similar to what you get with the skills for characters in their menus, it indicates in a certain way what it is that they're capable of, even when they can't actually use it in the moment. Their potential, if you will. Craymel arts shown in red cannot be used because the combination of Craymels is incorrect, although you already have the art. Craymel arts shown in gray cannot be used because you have neither the correct combination nor the required levels. I have a feeling it is what you're thinking of, Grail. Yeah. That could be said about a lot of the spells in Eternia, in my humble opinion. Craymel arts shown in yellow can be attained by fringing. And finally, those sweet, sweet post-battle messages. When new Craymel arts are available, a message will appear after a battle. When the message Fringe to create a new Craymel art appears, immediately Fringe to attain a new Craymel art, so the sorts which you get just by ascending the Craymels to a new level. The message activity detected in Craymel Cage means that you can Fringe to attain a new Craymel art if you change the combination of Craymels in the Craymel Cages. Changing combinations may break up combinations needed for Craymel arts currently in use, so be careful. Alright. It sounds a lot like a lot of this game does right off the bat, but as this game reminds us over and over again, it is also a very rewarding system to learn by doing. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Try Fringe. Oh, we will try Fringe. Put that on the back of the box. I think now the way that load point works is that if we save, we can pick things up here when we return. But maybe I do just want to go back to make sure that we don't have an issue with that. I don't trust the load points. And I don't trust my ability to walk through fire.
Let's do it! Go! Ha! Ha! Swallow dance! Go! 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 Ha! 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 Swallow dance! Ha!
Air thrust!
Ha! Go! Swallow dance! Go! We won!
Alright, we can give it a bit of a sprint back and wrap things up for the evening. Yeah, see, I think that was just too much. The lavender, I mean, that's good, but worried about Undine's health after that. Telling you, I really think you almost want to think about the Craymels in this game in terms of how communicative they are, more like Swordians than spirits, because they really do just have like a different level of expressiveness to them.
Air thrust!
Ha! Go! Swallow dance! Ha! Ha!
Although again, even that is like, that requires qualification, because in something like the story that Tales of Vesperia tells, obviously the spirits show up for less time, but they show up in the context of quite robust characters who we come to know and relate to in a lot of different ways over the course of the story. Different than the Craymels, of course, but also quite expressive. Yeah, so that was a bad idea. I also think we could have gone around after all. Yeah, that was not good. I don't know if she's going to be able to make it back.
Let's do it!
I forget what happens if you run out of her HP. I think that did happen to me when I was playing this the first time.
Go! Ha!
We might be about to find out.
Death blossom!
If we die,
Swallow dance!
I apologize. The items are probably not worth it.
Ha! Ha! Palm strike! Ah! Ow! Death blossom! Ah!
That's right.
Here. Undine.
Behold my power. Ha! Twin palm strike! We don't lose.
We punch and then we punch again. But we don't lose. We never lose. Square shield. Cross home. I think those are pretty good, but not if they don't get us back. Reed already had that. He already had both of them. Oh, never mind. It's a total waste. Got it. Now that just makes us vulnerable to fire damage. Which is not as bad as I thought it might be. I think it is a regular occurrence, which is the bad part, but
Let's do it.
it's not like it'll one-hit KO us.
Swallow down.
I should be able to make it back okay.
Swallow
As long as I
down.
just remember to watch it.
Air thrust.
That's the problem with those passive environment damages. I usually just forget about them until the party is at 1 hit point.
Did we get him?
I imagine you'll see many more come and go before we're done with Tales of Praxis. It is such a wonderful, vibrant community with all the diversity that we're so fond of celebrating and working to analyze and better understand and appreciate through our studies together. Good. And back. Good. There's got to be a way to open these doors. Keel, why don't we try the Sorcerer's Ring we just received? Yeah, I was thinking we'd have to come back later, but I was forgetting. Sure. I suppose it's worth a try. R1, my beloved. Oh! That was not a good outcome at all.
Do it.
Death! Not even the Grim Reaper, just properly manifestations of death. Stop it!
Death blossom. Wrap up.
Hanging out right above our normal reach.
Swallow dance.
Air thrust.
Swallow dance.
Neosonic swarm. Air thrust.
Swallow dance.
Air thrust.
Don't take me lightly.
Foot up. Love it. Yeah, I guess that's true, isn't it? Because REM only shows up in manifestations in Eternia and Tales of the Abyss, as you said, right? Whereas, yeah, Pluto, at least in an implied form, shows up in both of the Xillias and in Fantasia. So if you count it by number of worlds, it'd probably be the same, but in terms of number of games where they show up, yeah, I think REM has Pluto beat for scarcity.
Swallow dance.
But as we will see,
Swallow
oh,
dance.
I almost don't even want to, no, I'm not going to say anything.
Death blossom.
I have to stop doing too much foreshadowing because I want the people who are watching it for the first time to be able to experience a lot of what makes Eternia fun and different for themselves.
We're not gonna lose so easily.
There's a lot yet to come. Put it that way. Oh, I don't want to do that again. Those death guys are so annoying. Gonna run out of this in a minute. I'm not doing what I wanted to. No, that's fine.
Let's do it. Ha! Swallow dance.
I did love our time with Kronos in Tales of Xillia too.
Swallow dance.
And Tales of Arise, lest we forget.
Swallow dance. Twin palm strike.
Air thrust. Super light air thrust. Sylph.
Get wrecked.
We won.
We sure did, Keel. We sure did. Nice. I'm gonna get Meredy focusing on Efreet for the moment. Just to try to get his level up. Oh, that's not what I meant though. Corruption, there we go. One more.
Let's do it.
Did you miss Efreet? He works for us now. Big ol' explosion.
Okay. Air thrust. Count on me.
Death block.
Air thrust. We won.
Let's do it.
The best sense I can make, based on what Keel says in the Forest of Temptation, is I think they're just supposed to be lost spirits, as in souls of living beings that have died in the area. Which is interesting because they do show up everywhere, and you can imagine how
Swallow dance.
adventurers might wander in and meet their demise. Although it's interesting in those areas too, because the way that
We won.
the spirits are bound behind these stones that are only responsive to the Sorcerer's Ring, that invites further questions. And we don't know that much about the Sorcerer's Ring yet, but we know enough to understand it has a unique position in this world of being able to achieve things like travel
Keel?
through the Bridge of Light, so might be more to it that we have yet to discover.
Meredy, did you know? The Grand Fall is the work of humans. You knew it, didn't you?
It was Balir.
The Inferian who traveled 30 years ago to Celestia, if you forgot that, and who wrote the, literally wrote the book on the Bridge of Light.
Balir? Who exactly is that?
Celestia's. Gundinaiti tuai sutindi. He is like a king. It is Balir who is behind the Grand Fall.
So the Celestians do want to destroy Eternia.
The Celestians. It was the Celestians after all. They were the masterminds behind the Grand Fall.
Not true. Balir did it all alone. Inferians and Celestians both in danger.
Oh yeah? So then why have you kept silent up till now?
Quickie? I could not explain well. Was afraid. I am sorry. Please, trust me?
Say, do all Celestians have dark skin and glass beads on their heads like you?
You bet. All have Ilara.
Ilara, new term.
Even Balir?
No, Balir has none. His forehead is light, like yours.
Say, do you remember the name of the man who crossed over to Celestia?
Fact that Reed is the one to get this first.
Wasn't it?
Balir?
Do
Bingo,
you
bango,
think that's
bongo.
just a coincidence?
It can't be. The mastermind behind the Grand Fall is Balir? An Inferian?
I don't know, but I think it's too early to assume that the Celestians are the bad guys.
It's actually significant character growth for Reed. That he's reasoning like this and trying to make sense of what's going on as opposed to just trying to find a way to get out of it.
Meredy, I believe in you. I trust you all the way.
Thank you.
Well then, why don't we begin our search for the Bridge of Light?
Reed.
No, all I meant was that we'll stick by you until we find the Bridge of Light. I didn't mean anything serious.
Yeah, even the way he's walking it back now. I don't know, man. You showed your hand. You care. In spite
Mount
of yourself,
Farlos.
maybe. Mount Farlos.
The Bridge of Light is on Mount Farlos.
How do you know, Keel?
I heard it at the Royal Observatory.
Good job.
Keel. Thank you.
Let's just get going. I dislike intuition and inferences. I need to confirm the cause of the Grand Fall with my own eyes.
Ever since I stepped out of the academy, now I am a simp for intuition and inferences.
Okay, let's head for Mount Farlos. No problem.
I like you all so much.
What a pure line.
Ooh, I too sweet Didi ya. Quickie, quickie!
I feel such genuine and deep things for you that I can only express them in my language. I don't even know how to communicate it to you. A special kind of poetry to that, I think. So, we're closing in on something more like a portrait of a familiar Tales of game. A discovery of a single person from the past who seems to have had an outsized influence on bringing about the problems and even the ontology of the current world for reasons unknown, yet to be excavated. Who is Balir? Why did he cross over? Why would he want to collapse Eternia, collapse Eternia by bringing Inferia and Celestia together? Good question.
Let's do it. Ha! Swallow dance. Ha ha.
Air thrust!
Ha 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 ha. Swallow dance. Swallow dance. Ah.
Okay.
Ha.
Good.
Okay. Ha ha. Okay.
Oh, I thought there was another path out.
Let's do it. Ha. Swallow dance. Death blossom. Go, go.
Air thrust!
Ha. Go. Okay. Go, go.
Air thrust! Okay. Demon lightning hammer! Air thrust!
Go. Go. Palm strike.
Yes!
Let's do it. Ha.
Air thrust!
Ha, ha. Pump twin. Reps. Ha, ha. Go.
Count on me!
Well, she finally got it off, but it was off screen, so you didn't see it yet. But you'll see eruption. There it is. Pretty cool. It just rains hellfire from the sky.
No problem!
Venom. Almost missed that. Oh, another status ailment weapon for Farah. This one causes stun. I love that. Maybe that's just a theme in her weapons. They can cause status ailments. As if she weren't already powerful enough.
Let's do it! Ha! Death Blossom!
Count on me. Air thrust. Count on me. Air thrust.
Okay, good.
Ha! Twin Palm Strike!
Rapture.
Swallow down!
Okay. Air thrust. All right.
Alright, and we're out. Might as well just camp on the field before we close up shop. Get that HP back. Alright, my friends. Well, that was a heck of a productive Friday evening. We got the support of 2 other Greater Craymels and met a Governing Craymel, REM, who seemed to have not only another level of power, but another level of insight into the world. Notice that was something that seemed to be implicit in what the Greater Craymels were saying once REM had left. This idea that REM has a perspective that even they don't have, because what they were telling the party is you need to just trust in REM's words and follow her, and that's the way to figure this stuff out. So that idea that being able to synthesize with different beings and achieve different levels of existence can in fact give us access to different understanding as well, and that can be another way of mediating our relationship with the world. So 2 more, but really 3 more Greater Craymels under our belts, and a new sense of what is going on in the world. Someone to actually point the finger at over this grand fall. Balir seemingly didn't just cross over to Celestia, but may have set the gears in motion to cause this cataclysmic event now looming on the horizon of 2 worlds and threatening annihilation. Why would he have done that? What would he be trying to achieve? And now that we have this new tool, this means of accessing and navigating the totality of Eternia in a new way, the Sorcerer's Ring, what will lie beyond the Bridge of Light for us, the party, for our understanding of their mission and what's even at stake in the Grand Fall in the first place? Yeah, Grail, it was great seeing you too. Pleasure to see you. So nice wrapping up our first full week of Tales of Eternia. Isn't that wild? It feels like we've been at this for longer, but maybe that's just because my heart and mind have been with the game for so long. I feel like I've been playing it by working through some of our other studies together. So much the better then that we're finally around to working through it as a group. Donut, it was so nice that you stopped by. I hope that you will stay a fixture of the real life JRPG party now that you're here. Pizzicato, so nice seeing you again. It had been a minute. Hope to see you again soon too. Qua, same for you. Pottery, always nice seeing you show up. I'll get those VODs up for you so you can stay up to date and not have an excuse for this coming week, alright? And Doug, nice seeing you for the first time in quite a while. I hope you're doing well, my friend. We have some great sagas ahead in this game, and as you could tell if you were paying attention this stream especially, Still waters run deep in these characters. There's a lot that they are already in the process of working through, even though we have imperfect access to it. And so even some of those things that they might be expressing might be expressions that are so incomprehensible to us as to not even register as expressions, which can be part of why it's so valuable to replay these games, because you pick up on different things that they're saying and draw different inferences from them that were on your radar at all the first time. And some of that is definitely happening for me, which is part of what's cool about this. And I'm excited to talk about that with you more as we get there, so that I don't spoil too much in the process. So let's get there. Let's see how these characters continue to bond and how they continue to uncover and shape the nature of their world all at once. This is a great journey for that sort of mystic enlightenment, but also practical discovery of knowledge and wisdom and capacity, all these things and more. The nature of fringing, really, as we began to understand this time around. All right, friends. Well, like I said, Dan will be here this coming week. I expect he'll be down to do some Eternia, but I'll definitely be talking with him about streaming plans over the weekend, so I'll keep the schedule updated. I'll let people know in the Discord. I'll send that too. It's a great way to keep in touch with us in a high-touch way, but we'll probably do our best to update the site socials too. But do join the Discord. And let us know if you have any suggestions for particular things to do. But for now, expect the same schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m., unless told otherwise, 7 p.m. Eastern, that is. Look for that new podcast episode tomorrow. It's a fun one. I hope you check it out. Let me know what you think. We can talk about that. VODs coming, lots more content beyond that. It's an embarrassment of riches for gaming these days, and so too for those of us who analyze games and seek to put language to the meaning of their incredibly rich stories that we might better invest and discover ourselves within them. So go forth and do likewise this weekend, my friends. I hope that you think well, game well, find time to be with yourselves and each other, and create some of that value that we seek out so regularly in gaming, in those worlds and beyond, in our own worlds. And fringe those worlds if you can. Now you have the context to understand, at least at first glance, what that comes down to in the Eternian sense of the word. All right, until next time then, I hope to see you on Discord. If not, hope to see you Monday, same time. This has been Tales of Praxis. Looking forward to the next leg of this journey with you, as all the legs before and yet to come. I've been your host, Aaron Suduko. Go to With a Terrible Fate if you need any more video game analysis to tide you over between now and then. Till next time, cheers, my friends.